Do have an update on that storm I was concerned about showing rotation. The National Weather Service has now issued a tornado warning. This is for western LaPorte County, right along to, this includes the city of LaPorte, and this actually has some pretty good rotation on it. I'm going to take you right to Storm Tracker radar, and we'll show you exactly what's going on with this storm. This one has been strengthening over the past 20 minutes or so. Right where you see the purple, that is some pretty good hail coming out of the storm, what's likely $1/4 to $1/2 size. But what I want you to notice here is the red color. This is the, right here's LaPorte and the Porter County line. Okay, there's New Durham, there's Betty's Corner, up here is Michigan City. Right here, where the red is next to the green, that's where we're getting the rotation. This is right along the toll road, so, or I should say right along 80 as you go into Porter County. And this rotation continues to move to the east. So areas along 80, Route 2, that's where we're seeing this strongly rotating storm, and that's where we have the tornado warning that was just issued for LaPorte County, and that extends eastward all the way to 35. So if you are in the path of this storm, interior room, lowest floor of your home, away from windows, remember when you're taking cover, you want to get down and protect your head, you want to protect your body, insulate yourself with blankets, because most of the time when people are injured in a tornado, it's because of flying debris. And that could be the case here as we see a potential tornado. Doppler radar indicated, I believe. However, I'm going to switch here and just check the status on that warning, because I do believe it is Doppler radar indicated. Yeah, so it's radar indicated. We have no official report that a tornado is on the ground, but again, you have to assume the worst in these situations so you're most prepared. So again, the rotation we're seeing is basically the LaPorte, I'd say the LaPorte-Porter County line, right where we have the red and the green next to each other. That's where we're picking up on some good rotation as this storm continues to track to the east. So this is the only warning that we're looking at right now. The tornado warning, obviously, for northern LaPorte County, and we have the severe thunderstorm warning, which is in place for the rest of northern LaPorte and into southwestern parts of Berrien County. We're going to zoom out here to show you exactly where that tornado warning is. So the red polygon box, that is where we have a tornado warning in place that runs right along 2 and 80 in northern LaPorte County. That includes the city of LaPorte, also eastern portions of Porter County, also under that warning. This is until 5:30 Eastern time, that's 4:30 Central. So we have another probably 20 minutes of this to go. But the rotation on the storm does not look like it's weakening whatsoever. So I'm going to show you exactly what we're seeing. We're going to zoom into it a little bit more here. Actually, with the latest, here, let me zoom into it. There we go. There was a new scan that just came in. So I'm going to draw a line. So we have winds going in the westerly, northwesterly direction, and then immediately south of there, we have winds going southeast. So right between there, that's where we're picking up the radar indicated rotation. So this storm is going to continue moving east. LaPorte, Oakwood, those locations, you need to take cover. Put your safety plan into place right now. We'll try to zoom in a little bit more here. You can see right the Holmesville area, Panola, and 80. Also where 421 intersects 80, also further north towards 94 near Cool Spring, and also Route 2. Just it looks like the strongest rotation is north of Route 2, but this is in general very western LaPorte County where we're seeing most of the rotation with this storm. We're going to put a reflectivity on it, show you where the storm actually is. This is what you're used to looking at, where you can detect the rain, the hail. The purples where we have some pretty large hail coming out of the storm. Probably, I would guess, $1/4 to $1/2 size hail coming out of that. You can see the radar just updated there. Let's go back to the velocity scan and see if we are seeing any more significant rotation with this. And it's still there. We've still got what we call in meteorology a velocity couplet. That is winds blowing in opposite directions adjacent to each other. That is what's indicating the rotation with this storm. So Betty's Corner right along 421 down towards Durham. That's where we're seeing the rotation right now continuing to move northeast. The Cool Spring area, Oakwood, LaPorte. If you are anywhere in LaPorte City, Now is the time to put your safety plan into place. Again, interior room, lowest floor of your home, away from windows, and when you get to your safe place, crouch down into like an egg and protect yourself with blankets, pillows, and whatnot until the threat has passed. So this is the rotation we're seeing right now with this thunderstorm in western LaPorte County as it continues to move to the east at around 30, 35 miles an hour. We're going to put the warning back up on the screen here, and we'll show you exactly what's going on with this. That red box, that's where we have the tornado warning in place. You can see a severe thunderstorm warning up into southwestern Berrien County, but right where that red box is, that's where we're going to be seeing most of the rotation moving through. Also, more tornado warnings out towards central Illinois. That's another line of storms that's most likely going to get us later this evening, but the storm of concern definitely across LaPorte County, and that purple is where we have probably some pretty good size hail coming out of that. So over towards 35, close to LaPorte, the intersection of 2 and 35, anyone near there, if you're in that vicinity, interior room, lowest floor, we'll take it back over to our velocity scan here. Still seeing that red next to green, which is indicating that rotation. Right along, I'd say this is just west of the LaPorte area, right near the intersection of 80 and 421. There's New Durham to the south. Panola, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Holmesville area needs to be in your safe place now. This is right where we have the rotation, the maximum rotation right over Holmesville. This area of rotation continues to move to the east. So right along 2, right along 80, that's where we're seeing most of this rotation right now as it continues to move off through northern LaPorte County. Again, this tornado warning is in effect until 5:30 Eastern Time. That's 4:30 Central. We're going to stay on the air here until the threat is over. So there's constantly new viewers tuning in at different times. So it may sound like I'm repeating myself occasionally, but remember, there's always new people tuning in as we go through the newscast that are hearing this information for the first time. So in that red box, again, tornado warning in place for eastern portions of Porter County, central LaPorte until 5:30 Eastern Time. That's 4:30 Central. And as we zoom in, you can see that red next to green. That's where we're seeing the rotation. I know I showed this already, but for those of you just joining us, right along 80, as you get close to 421 in western LaPorte County, that's right where we're seeing the rotation, right over the Holmesville area. We have winds blowing basically in opposite directions adjacent to each other. So if you put a glass between your hands and you move your hands in opposite direction, what does the glass do? It spins. That's exactly what we're seeing right here on our radar screen. I'm actually going to go back, flip computers here. You're going to still see where we're looking at the rotation on the screen, but I do want to check to see if there are any spotter reports of this tornado. We do have a spotter that is near Westville, Indiana, claiming that there is a healthy rotating wall cloud and rapidly rising motion, which usually is indicative of a developing tornado or one that could possibly already be on the ground. So this is a report that just came in from a trained storm spotter of a healthy rotating wall cloud. A wall cloud is basically the parent cloud that's a precursor to a developing tornado. So it's that low-hanging cloud that typically rotates. And if we have if I can ask our producer, if you have any pictures coming into the newsroom of anyone in LaPorte County in this general area, 80 over towards 421, check our Facebook page. We might have some pictures coming in. That really helps us tell what's going on in the area, pictures, and I'm sure we have some people in this general area that are trained storm spotters taking photos of what's going on in that direction. But I would not be surprised if there is a tornado on the ground with this. Again, right there is where we're looking at the rotation right along 80 in western LaPorte County. We're going to zoom into this a little bit more, see if we can get a few more towns loaded up on here. So the Holmesville area not too long ago was right over where we were seeing the rotation with this. This continues to move in the east direction. So LaPorte, the city of LaPorte, if you live in the city of LaPorte, and if you're not too far north or south along 35, take shelter immediately. Again, interior room, lowest floor of your home until the threat has passed. This tornado warning continues until 5:30 this evening. That's 4:30 Central Time, for LaPorte County. So we're going to take it back over. Let me save this image here, and we're going to take it back over to reflectivity and show you where the hail is falling with this storm. So it's not just the tornado threat that we're dealing with here. It's also the hail, the straight line winds, which usually can precede the actual storm itself. So LaPorte may be getting strong winds right now from the storm, but the rotation's still back here closer to New Durham. Again, right along 80 east of the Holmesville area, that's where we're getting most of the rotation with this. So this storm continues to move east. This is the tornado-warned storm that we're tracking, and we're going to go back to the storm tracker radar here. This is velocity mode. This is basically showing you how winds are blowing with respect to the radar site, okay? So the radar site's in North Webster, so here wind's blowing that way, and then we have the green blowing immediately south of there towards the radar site. That's where we're getting the rotation. This is looking pretty clear. This is clear rotation on the radar. So we have no confirmation that this is on the ground, but in these types of situations, tornadoes develop rapidly. So you have to assume that the worst case scenario is going to happen because then you're the most prepared. So right along 2, right along 80, east of Holmesville, this storm is tracking to the east. LaPorte County, LaPorte City, Oakwood, definitely enact or put into place your tornado safety plan because we are looking at a tornado warning continuing until 5:30. It looks like with the latest scan there that it may have weakened just a bit, but still, if you're in the path of the storm, you want to go to interior room, lowest floor of your home, away from windows. We're going to zoom out and show you what the rest of the viewing area is doing. Also getting concerned about these storms west or near Valparaiso. So there's Porter Crossroads, Winfield. Over here, a big one, supercell storm right along 30 in northeast Illinois. And over here is southern LaPorte County. There's Hanna, there's Dewey, Wanata, right along 30, and there's Stark County. So Stark County needs to keep an eye on the storms over Bloom, Merrillville, down or just to the south of Valparaiso. The storm of concern continues to be this cell in LaPorte County, particularly the northern half of the county where we have the tornado warning currently in place. We'll take you right back here and show you northern LaPorte County right there. If you're in the city of LaPorte, interior room, lowest floor of your home, this is where you need to put your plan into place right now. Should take you 30 seconds or less if you're in a 2-story home to get to your safe place. Back to the west, we are tracking more tornado warnings for Lake and Porter County. This was just issued. This is with another storm that bears watching down the road, but the one I really want to concentrate on is the one that is currently moving through northern LaPorte County. I'm going to check to see if we have any reports. We did have a trained spotter report of a rotating wall cloud near the Westville area. A wall cloud is usually a precursor to a developing tornado. It's a low-hanging cloud that really spins, and that was reported by a trained spotter. We'll see if there's any other reports coming out of there. Not seeing anything, not seeing any additional reports, but I know our producers are checking Facebook, checking Twitter, checking our email to see if we can get any images of the storm in that general location. I would not recommend taking photos and sending them to our newsroom if you are in the tornado warning area. I recommend, as always, get to an interior room, lowest floor of your home immediately, because these things can develop very, very quickly. Let's take you back to a velocity mode here, and still seeing that red next to green, and that's where we're seeing the rotation. This is now east of Holmesville. There's LaPorte. Here's Route 2, south of Panola, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. And then there's 80. So the rotation of this storm along and generally south of 80 towards Route 2, that's where we're seeing most of the rotation with this. The Holmesville area, I'm curious if anyone is in that direction. It looks like the threat has passed. Still remain in your safe place until the tornado warning has been lifted, which is not for another 10 minutes yet. There's a latest update there on our radar scan, still showing that rotation right where we have red next to green, north of the Panola area, smack dab between Route 80 and Route 2. And this rotation continues to move to the east. Again, anyone in the city of LaPorte needs to put your safety plan into place right now. So that means interior room, lowest level of your home, away from windows when you get to your safe place. really crouch down and protect your head, protect your body, because most of the time when people are injured in a tornado, it's because of flying debris. And that's the concern here in western LaPorte County, where we have this rotation in place. This warning continues until 5:30. I'm still seeing the rotation here, so if this is still rotating like this beyond 5:30, we're going to stay on the air, simply because this is still a concerning looking storm to me. Again, just along and south of 80 is where we're seeing the most rotation with this. So this is just LaPorte County that we've been concentrating on. This is really the worst of it right now across the viewing area. We're going to zoom out here and see if there's any other. There's no other warnings across the viewing area other than the severe thunderstorm warning that continues for southwestern Berrien County and northern parts of LaPorte. Also, I do want to mention that further west over Porter County, Lake and Porter County, we have a tornado warning in place. It's with this storm that's now to the southwest of Gary. That is also moving towards our viewing area. This will be one to watch, and then one further east just south of Valparaiso along and south of 30. That will also be another storm to watch. But these are pretty healthy looking supercell thunderstorms that are breaking out. One right over LaPorte County where we have that tornado warning in place, and then one over northwest Indiana, Lake County, that newly issued tornado warning that's in place for northern parts of Lake and Porter County. So this is the one we're still watching. That's the tornado warned cell. I'm going to take you back to the tornado warning map, and we'll show you exactly where that tornado warning is. It's moving through northern parts of LaPorte County. There is the warning. So we're talking right along 30, right along 2 from New Durham, all the way over towards the LaPorte area, right along Route 2. So anyone in the city of LaPorte, I know LaPorte's one of the more populated areas of LaPorte County, interior room, lowest floor of your home. Also Michigan City, fairly populated, but the tornado warning is mainly to the south. Still looking at some rotation here, just west of LaPorte. It looks a little weaker than what I was seeing about 10 minutes ago. But remember, the tornado warning is still in place. So sometimes the tornadoes weaken, then they redevelop and strengthen. So this could just be a re-energizing phase for this tornado. So or I shouldn't say tornado because we don't have confirmation that this is on the ground, but we do have clear rotation in this storm right along 80 and right between 80 and Route 2 there. So where we have the red, wind blowing to the west, and then when we have the green, wind is blowing more to the east, and that's right where we have the rotation. You see the latest scan right there. So LaPorte, the city of LaPorte, if not right now, very shortly, will be impacted if there is a tornado on the ground. The tornado is just west of the area and continues to move to the east. Looks like the worst of the rotation is just north of 2, just west of 35. So this is continuing to move to the east. This is the entire area where we have the tornado warning portion of the storm. Again, running till 5:30, about another 7 minutes or so. We're still looking at this warning in place. It could be extended further east depending on the rotation, which the latest scans suggest to me that it's weakening, but it could start to strengthen up again. We're going to take you back to the reflectivity and show you. Basically, this shows you this is what you're used to looking at, where the rain, where the hail is. Pretty good hail core in this storm. We're looking at $1/4 to $half size hail. That's the other threat. Also some straight line winds potentially, especially ahead of the storm or just preceding the very front part of it. So even New Carlisle could be getting some gusty winds from this as this storm continues to move to the east. We're going to take you back to the radar again. Or the warning, and I should say, this is until 5:30 Eastern Time, that's 4:30 Central, LaPorte's in Central Time. This tornado warning could be issued further east with time. Right now, it expires at 5:30, but that doesn't mean the threat is over. Again, I could see this being extended, so we'll have to keep an eye on it. We're going to remain on the air as long as this storm is a threat, and there you see some of the rotation there. LaPorte, right over just west of the LaPorte area. And I apologize if I'm mispronouncing that town, just to the south of Scipio, or Scipio rather, just south of there. That's in the vicinity of the rotation as well. So LaPorte City Anyone in the vicinity of LaPorte City needs to move to an interior room, lowest floor of your home, until the threat has passed. I'm going to check the other computer here just to see if we have any sort of reports coming out of LaPorte County. Again, this is just radar indicated. I have no confirmation that we have a tornado on the ground. That doesn't mean there isn't one on the ground. It's just one has not been detected by a trained storm spotter. However, a trained storm spotter did detect a rotating wall cloud near Westville, and oftentimes rotating wall clouds are a precursor to a developing tornado. So that's really why we're having a big concern with this storm as it continues to move to the east. We're going to zoom out on the radar here and show you in general where we're looking at, because I know the rest of the viewing area is still under a tornado watch. Let's see here. So we got a severe thunderstorm warning for southwestern Berrien County and the eastern portion of LaPorte County. But right across northern LaPorte County, right where LaPorte City is, this is where we have the tornado warning in that red polygon box. And the warning running about another 3 minutes here, but we're going to remain on the air here because the rotation from that storm is still looking fairly concerning. And notice with the last scan, it wasn't as bright. Now with the latest scan, the colors are getting a little brighter again, which is a sign that the rotation might be getting more tight, more intense, and that's a sign that if there is a developing tornado, there could be a more imminent threat of one. This is literally right over the city of LaPorte, so anyone in LaPorte City needs to be taking shelter immediately. It's about to cross 35. It's right where, I'd say the rotation's right near 35 and Route 2, and just south of 2, if I'm pronouncing the name of that town correctly, Scipio or Scipio, that area also near the rotation as well. So this is going to be a risk further east as you head into central and eastern portion of LaPorte County. We'll kind of zoom out a little bit here and show you exactly where this storm is headed. We'll put some motion on it. Let me bring it down. This is going to be the last, I'd say, hour of motion. So if you live in New Carlisle, if you live South Bend, definitely needs to keep an eye on this storm. This is certainly one of the stronger storms that we've been seeing develop across the viewing area today. This is moving right through LaPorte, right down 35, actually up and down 35 on either side of LaPorte. That's where we're tracking this storm moving. So again, the New Carlisle area, we'll pause the radar, show you some other towns, Salem Heights area, right along too, over towards the St. Joe County line. Crumbstown in western St. Joe County needs to keep an eye on this storm because we're still looking at some healthy rotation with it. Right there, right over LaPorte, you can see some bright red, some bright green there. And I know we have many people that might be hearing me say the same thing over and over again, but remember, as these threats evolve, we're constantly having new viewers tune in at different times. So they're hearing what I'm talking about for the first time. So that's why we're just continuing to reiterate the same concerns with this. And the main threat with this right now is obviously the tornado warning that is currently in place. And we'll put some arrows on here and show you exactly what we're looking at. This is velocity mode. This shows you how wind is blowing with respect to the radar site. Radar site here is in North Webster, just north of Warsaw. Wind's blowing away from the radar site, crossing 2, and then we have winds blowing towards the radar site just south of LaPorte. So this rotation's right over the city of LaPorte. I just got a message here. Somebody posted an image, I believe, on my Facebook page, Ed Russo WSBT. A viewer posted on there. I don't know what that picture is, but if maybe one of our producers or someone in the newsroom can get us a picture of what this person sent, it would give us kind of a better idea on exactly what we're seeing in that vicinity.
Yeah, Matt Rudkin here with Ed Russo. I'll tell you what, Ed, I'll give you a break. Why don't you go to I'll let you go to the wall and you can point around. I'll take care of the radar and we'll chat about this storm a little bit. Tornado warning has been extended now into St. Joseph County, as Ed mentioned, including New Carlisle and over towards Rolling Prairie and just right around North Liberty as well. So we'll show you a couple different maps. First off, let's talk about the tornado warning. There it is. It's that box in red between LaPorte and South Bend. If you live in that red area, best place to go is the basement. If you don't have a basement interior room, such as a hallway or a closet. Away from windows is the big point here. If you live in a mobile home, especially if you're east of LaPorte, you want to get out of that mobile home, whether it is a church, a restaurant, somewhere with a sturdy structure. You do not want to be in a mobile home. So Ed, why don't you go ahead and you can talk about the storm. That's the one we're watching there between LaPorte and New Carlisle right there.
Okay, yeah, so we've been watching this storm for the past 30 minutes now, and right where you see the purple, that's where we could get some large hail, perhaps a $1 to $50 size hail with this storm. Right on the southwestern side, though, that's where we're getting some of this radar indicated rotation. So Matt put it back into velocity mode for me. And there you see it, Route 2 right there. That's where we have winds blowing away from the radar site just south of or in the city of LaPorte. You can see the green where winds are blowing towards the radar site. This, if there is a tornado with this, it has passed either very close to or just through the city of LaPorte. And I know I just starting to get pictures now of what's going on there, and hopefully we'll be able to get them up on the air for you. But right there is where we're seeing that rotation. All of it is continuing to move to the east. And I know, Matt, we were just discovering that this tornado warning has been extended, right, as I thought it might. New Carlisle, Crumstown, North Liberty. Now is the time to put your safety plan into place. This is the rotation right over the city of LaPorte, and this is moving east towards the Crumstown area. So if you're in Crumstown, New Carlisle, down towards North Liberty, interior room, lowest floor of your home, away from windows. And remember, you want to crouch down and protect your head. You want to protect your body from flying debris. Even if you're in the basement, sometimes things still get flung around. So you want to make sure that you protect your body and not just, stand there with your arms crossed in your safe place. You actually want to get down on the floor. You want to reduce the surface area of your body because that reduces the chance that you get hit by something. So this is the rotation just to the east of LaPorte, and it's continuing to move east, almost making a beeline for the Crumstown area. And obviously, as you get towards Crumstown and the bypass, you get towards more populated areas of the South Bend metro area, which is why we're obviously very concerned with this storm. So Matt is putting on a storm track. I'm going to walk off the screen here, but yeah, this is now in Eastern time, okay? So Crumstown area, 6:13. That's about 40 minutes from now. And then 6:30 for Ardmore. You can see that rotation, which is actually tightened up a little bit, a sign that this rotation is not going away, and the concern is there still for a possible tornado. I don't know, Matt. Are you on the chat yet? Are you able to see anything?
I'm not. But
okay.
But the good news, yeah, as you mentioned, the rotation. It's a little bit more broad, I think. However, we're pretty far from the radar site, so it's almost hard for the National Weather Service radar to pick up the rotation at this distance. But remember, the atmosphere is real conducive to rotation today. So any of these storms could spin up a quick tornado or two, and that's why we want you to take this seriously. Again, between LaPorte and South Bend, so over towards Rolling Prairie, over towards New Carlisle, that area north of North Liberty, you need to be in your safe spot, which is the lowest level of your home, or an interior room without windows. That's the best place to go. And even if this doesn't have a tornado, it certainly has very gusty winds with it, and probably some hail as it pushes due east. It's going to go just south of the city of New Carlisle, but if you live near Rolling Prairie, it's going to go real close to you, and this will eventually, in the next 20 minutes, start to impact, if it can stay intact, will start to impact the west side of South Bend. So basically between the South Bend International Airport and the Four Winds Casino out that way on the west side, between those two locations, start thinking ahead now. If you live in a mobile home, you've got some time now to get out, to go to a safe place. Again, whether that's a church, whether that's a restaurant, a sturdy structure is where you want to be in. Again, South Bend is not in any imminent danger at the moment, but try to give you 20, 30 minutes of leeway because that's the largest city we serve. And if the storm holds its strength, it's going to at least impact part of the metro area. So we'll put another storm track on this, Ed. You can go back up to the wall and we'll keep a closer look. I'm going to zoom in real tight here so we can get a closer look as to where this is impacting. Luckily, at the moment, this is a pretty rural area between LaPorte and again over towards the west side of South Bend. So this is real close, just north of State Road 4 on the eastern part of LaPorte County. So between State Road 4 and State Road 2, which again is a lot of farm fields, but this is going to start impacting a much more populated area within about 15 to 20 minutes. And Ed, as you can see there, the green and red real close together,
yep,
and some bright colors indicates some serious rotation with this storm. It at least has the potential to produce a tornado.
Right, and we did have a storm spotter in Westville report a rotating wall cloud with this storm. Now, if you don't know what a wall cloud is, it's basically the mother cloud to a tornado. It's the cloud that you see before the tornado develops. It's low hanging, it rotates. That's what was reported with this storm. No surprise, because we're seeing a very good look at the rotation on our radar. This is just north of the Salem Heights area. I don't like to get too specific saying exactly where the rotation is, because you have to assume, again, that it's in this general area of central and eastern LaPorte County. So we look for two things when we're looking for rotation. One, two wind directions blowing adjacent to each other in opposite directions, okay? So put a bottle between your hands, move your hands in different directions, it spins. That's what we're seeing on radar. The other thing we look for is how tight that circulation is. How compact is the red and the green that's next to each other? And this is looking a little bit more compact, and that's oftentimes what we look for when we're looking for a tornado.
And you can talk about this product's the correlation coefficient. You can talk about what we're looking at here, and nothing too alarming. However, this is an important product.
Right. So if we can zoom in a little bit just east of LaPorte, usually, so I'd say the rotation is just to the north of Salem Heights. When we look at correlation coefficient, it classifies as all sorts of stuff that's in the atmosphere. And usually when we have assuming there's some sort of large tornado on the ground picking up debris, you'll see a real tight ball of blue over the area of rotation, which we're not seeing at this moment, but that's another tool that we use to figure out if we can actually detect flying debris on Storm Tracker radar. Now, this is reflectivity. This is what you're used to looking at. And right here we have the purple, where we have that's what I would call the hail core, quarter to $half size hail. This storm has had a history of producing ping pong, even hen egg size hail in Romeoville, which is where the National Weather Service office is in the Chicagoland area. So this is the storm that continues to move east. This tornado warning has been extended into western portions of St. Joe County, New Carlisle, Crumbstown, all the way down towards North Liberty. Needs to exercise your safety plan right now. Interior room, lowest floor of your home, away from windows. And obviously, as this storm moves into western St. Joe County, we start to get into more populated areas of the viewing area, getting close to the South Bend Metro. But South Bend isn't any immediate threat yet. However, we are, actually, Matt, I think that severe thunderstorm warning was just extended basically to the South Bend.
Yep, push a little bit farther to the east. Hey, I'm going to stop you here. We've got a picture from LaPorte, and I'll let you explain this real quick. I'm going to change some settings on our Storm Tracker radar, but I was told we have a picture, at least from LaPorte County, and this is probably a wall cloud here.
Yeah. So remember, we were talking about how it was mentioned as a trained spotter probably about, I'd say, 20 minutes ago. 30 minutes ago, spotted a low-hanging cloud, rotating cloud. That's a wall cloud. That's a parent cloud to a tornado. So what you're seeing right there, if you were actually to see that picture in motion, you'd see it rotating, okay? And that's one of the precursors to a potentially developing tornado. Not surprised that we're seeing that, because we're seeing some pretty good rotation on the radar. Again, if you have any pictures in that general area, I don't recommend going upstairs and taking pictures. If you're in this tornado warning, stay in your safe place until the threat has passed. But anyone else who has taken pictures, not long ago, that is compelling, obviously send it to our newsroom, because we'd love to show you on the air what we're seeing outside, because the radar can only tell us so much. So here's the big storm we're tracking, a giant, pretty big supercell thunderstorm, the tornado warned storm in LaPorte, moving into western St. Joe County down the road. And then also we have another tornado warning that's issued for Lake County in extreme northwest Indiana. That storm also moving to the east as well, probably going to take the same path as the one that's now presently over LaPorte. Hopefully the LaPorte storm starving some of the atmospheric energy, so I'm hoping this one will go on a weakening trend, but the latest scans there suggest that it's actually strengthening, because the lightning is becoming a bit more pronounced.
Right, and that brings us to another concern. Obviously, tornadoes are a concern for everybody. Hail's a concern. And wind. You can get some downbursts here. You can get some straight line wind. However, flooding is also a major concern. With a warm front like this, you get what's called training. And you're kind of seeing it between St. Joseph County and Lake County, where storms redevelop over the same locations. You can get inches of rain in a very short amount of time. And that's going to do some serious problems, obviously, to farmers. But if we get enough rain, things just can't drain, and you can get some heavy flooding across the region when
Yeah,
that happens.
this has been definitely a major problem because we just haven't been able to get a break from the rain. And the other issue is obviously when you have saturated ground, the root systems in trees are not as the structural integrity of the tree's root systems isn't as strong. So with wet ground and strong winds, you can have trees more easily topple over. And Matt's showing another storm track here.
Yeah, it's still a pretty rural location, south of New Carlisle and the western side of St. Joseph County. The rotation to me doesn't look quite as intense as it was all but 5 minutes ago, but that does not mean it's not a dangerous storm. And again, with the dynamics present, these things can rotate real quick. So let's just assume this storm has at least the potential for a tornado. And again, I want to reiterate that South Bend is in no immediate danger in the next 20 to 30 minutes. However, if this storm holds its strength and holds its location, it will impact the west side of South Bend. And the reason we want to keep reiterating that's obviously the most populated community that we serve. And we want you to make sure you're in your safe spot, which is the lowest level of the home. If you don't have a basement in the middle of your home, like a hallway or a bathroom away from windows, and if you live in a mobile home, you want to get out. So go to a safe structure. Hopefully you have a severe weather plan already in place, whether that's a church, a restaurant, a store, somewhere that's not a mobile home. But again, at least from what I'm seeing, this doesn't look quite as ominous as it was all but 5-10 minutes ago. But that doesn't mean to not take it seriously.
Sure, and sometimes that, as these tornadoes evolve, they weaken and they can regenerate. So this could just be could be regenerating a new life cycle. Right now, the latest scan does appear to show that the rotation is weakening just a bit.
Right, so there's the rotation.
Yep.
So the winds are going this way where you see the green. The winds are going this way where you see the red. That is at least a sign of circulation in the clouds. It does not mean there's a tornado on the ground, but you can assume there is, just to be safe.
Yeah, and in these situations, there's nothing wrong with assuming the worst, because when you assume the worst, you often are more prepared. And we're talking about, preventing injury, preventing loss of life in these situations. So if you're in the path of this storm, you want to get to an interior room, lowest floor of your home, away from windows. Don't bother opening the windows to equalize pressure. That's a waste of time. That's a common myth. All you need to do when a tornado warning is issued is to get your physical body downstairs. And in a two-story home, it should take you really no more than 30 seconds to do so. So this is the rotation again, as Matt drew on the map here. There's Crumstown. Crumstown, definitely keep an eye on this because you are included in the tornado warning. South Bend and Mishawaka, the west side of South Bend does appear to be under that severe thunderstorm warning, but as far as a tornado, there's no immediate threat in that regard. However, if this rotation remains intact, we could see this warning extended even further east. This is a healthy looking supercell thunderstorm, and a supercell storm is just a really strong thunderstorm that takes on rotation, which is exactly what we're seeing. You can see it right there. If we can zoom into it, Matt, we'll just show you how big this storm is, covering basically the entire portion of LaPorte County, right along 80 down towards 2, the New Carlisle area. Any viewers out there, again, interior room, lowest floor of your home, most likely getting some, I wouldn't be surprised to see some quarter or $half size hail.
That's what I was just going to say. Yeah, even if there's not a tornado, there's going to be gusty winds with this. All the rain that's coming down from this pushes air down to the surface. You get microbursts or straight line wind, and where you see the bright pinks, that's, I would say, at least nickel-size hail, and it could certainly be bigger than that given the distance from the radar site.
Yeah, and some of these storms in Northeast Illinois, I know the National Weather Service office in Northeast Illinois, in Romeoville, just south of Chicago, has reported at the weather office golf ball to hen egg size hail coming from some of these storms. So that is another.
And that hail core, by the way, is heading right towards South Bend. So South Bend over towards New Carlisle, Notre Dame, Roseland, Granger, Mishawaka, all these areas, I would assume that hail is coming your way. Certainly heavy rain, lots of lightning and thunder, and probably gusty winds in excess of 50 miles an hour with this particular storm.
Right.
One other thing I want to mention too, if you are in a safe spot, the storm rolls through, really appreciate your storm reports. If there's some trees down, if there is power outages, find us on Facebook. You've got our weather app. You can email us. Those are vital because then we know what's happening and can warn our friends east of the storm ahead of it as to what it's actually doing. Speaking of which, we got a storm report from our news director here, John Hafferkamp, who's in LaPorte. Said the storm blew through about 2 miles south of downtown. Heavy rain, moderate wind gusts. Hasn't seen any damage as of now, so that's good. But again, there was some serious rotation with this storm, and there still is. It's weakened a bit, but it's still pretty healthy, at least by our standards here in Indiana.
Okay, yeah. There is, and as Matt was reiterating, again, you know, the tornadic aspect to this, not the only concern, but obviously the hail, the straight line winds, and the tornadic portion of the storm, usually with these thunderstorms, is on the southwestern side of the storm. That's where we're seeing the rotation with this particular storm. So just east of LaPorte, again, moving towards the Crumstown area between Indiana 2 and Indiana 4. That's basically smack dab where we're seeing the rotation, right between those two state routes. And you can see a big hail core moving just to the south of New Carlisle, South Bend, as Matt was mentioning, Notre Dame, Roseland, down the road, Mishawaka, even Granger. Needs to keep an eye on the storm. We could be seeing some pretty sizable hail move through. Matt, if we can take it back to the velocity mode here and see what we've got as far as rotation goes. Again, we've been seeing the rotation, the degree of it fluctuate just a little bit. It's not as, the rotation doesn't look, we're not seeing the bright reds and the bright greens, but the rotation is still pretty compact. You can see right where we clearly have green next to red, that's that tight circulation that we're talking about. And, you know, even if this isn't producing a tornado, we still got strong outflow winds from this storm that can actually be well ahead of the heaviest rain or hail associated with the storm. So that's something else to consider as well. So this is why we have the tornado warning in place, where we have that rotation just south now of New Carlisle. This is about to move into St. Joe County,
yeah, like you said again, Crumstown, this is right near the State Road 2 and US 20 intersection there in eastern LaPorte County. So if you're familiar with that, just south, I'd say about 2 miles of that is where the potential rotation is with this storm pushing to the east. And again, I would say from the Four Winds Casino in South Bend up to the South Bend Airport, within the next 15 minutes here is going to be impacted. And even if there is not a tornado, which at this point, if there was, it would be pretty weak. However, the dynamics with this particular setup supports these spin-up tornadoes that can intensify real quickly. It's kind of a rare atmosphere to have around here compared to what we often have. So let's assume it can or does. And if you live on the west side of South Bend, again, please take your tornado precautions, lowest level of your home, interior room. And the big thing is, especially with a storm like this, away from windows. If there's hail, they're going to come through the windows. We saw it in Chicago, and this is the same type of storm that impacted there. And you can see the latest radar scan at it is pretty much similar to what we've seen in the past 10 minutes. I mean, nothing, as a meteorologist, overly impressive, but certainly worth being cautious about.
Sure, and you can see, but you can still clearly see that we do have a rotating storm there, and it's always wise in these situations to act with an overabundance of caution because of what may develop quickly. You know, right here we're looking at the latest scan of this rotation appearing to be weakening a little bit, but these things can intensify and weaken rapidly. So that's why we could be seeing a tornado develop. One has not been reported. This has just been radar indicated, but we have gotten storm spotters report that they saw a rotating wall cloud near the Westville area.
I'll show you a picture. This is again from LaPorte County, and this is I can't see where I'm sitting. Let me get up. This is this is a pretty classic wall cloud. It certainly has some rain obstructing the view, but nothing overly alarming there. However, again, we can see the rotation. That's the whole red and green on our radar. We can see that up in the sky. It's rain droplets, and we can see which way they're blowing in the sky. And that's why we want to take this seriously, because rotation aloft easily can be transferred downward.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's obviously a continuing concern with this storm. Matt, let's just switch it back to, we're going to get back to velocity in a second, but I do want to show you what many of you are more used to looking at, especially on your mobile devices, is reflectivity, which basically shows you the degree of rain or hail that is falling. And, you know, this storm is holding together pretty good. Just south of New Carlisle, I'd say, if we can zoom in just a little bit more, Matt.
Trying something here. There we
go.
go.
Right where we see the purple, right along Route 2 as you head into St. Joe County.
And I think
that's what we're looking
let me
at.
try, see if this actually works. There we go.
Okay.
I know it's kind of hard to read, but see the little purple there?
Yeah, right there.
That's the size probably between a quarter and maybe a ping pong. That's probably stretching it, but at least quarter size hail. And this is coming right towards the city of South Bend. The hail the size of between a nickel and a quarter. It's coming right towards downtown, towards Notre Dame, towards the airport. and it's probably going to hold its strength. I would say Mishawaka, Granger, certainly not out of the woods yet, and a half hour down the road, probably the city of Elkhart and Simonton Lake as well.
Right. You can see the purple moving right along too into western St. Joe County, and as Matt was mentioning, a quarter to even $half size hail possible with that storm. And again, with these storms, you can see the stronger winds precede the heaviest rain and hail that's associated with it. So that's a concern too. You know, many times you may be used to waiting, oh, the strong winds are only associated with the heaviest precipitation. As we get that rain falling, it cools the atmosphere, and that colder air rushes down to the surface and spreads out. So you can get strong winds well ahead of the actual rain or hail that's involved with the storm itself. Matt, let's zoom out a little here. We're going to go back to the west. I do want to show the other storm that's behind this one over towards that's Lake County. Is that into Porter County too? I believe
the storm is, the warning is not. The warning is only the Maryville, Gary, Hammond area.
Okay.
No warning for Porter.
So this storm is over towards Gary, soon probably moving into the Chesterton area. This will also be another storm to watch as we work through the evening. But right now the storm of concern is definitely this one that's impacting LaPorte County and certainly into western portions of St. Joe County. No doubt, I guarantee you we're going to be getting some pretty good pictures, at least in the New Carlisle area, maybe immediately south of some pretty big hail, quarter to maybe even golf ball size hail. And the tornado warning portion of this storm usually on the southwestern corner of these storms, and we haven't checked out velocity in a little bit yet, so we'll go back to that and show you exactly where the rotation is with the storm, continuing to see that tornado warning in place until, is it until 6:15?
It is, I think it's 6 o'clock on the dot.
Okay. All right, so we've got another 10 minutes or so. That doesn't mean the threat is over. I mean, by all means, this could be extended further east if the rotation is still looking solid, and we can go back to velocity mode, Matt.
Yeah, and I'm looking at some viewer pictures. Everything I'm seeing in LaPorte County and towards the border of LaPorte and St. Joe County. Texwood Classic wall cloud. I don't see anything touching the ground. That's good, but it can at a moment's notice, and that's why the National Weather Service has issued this tornado warning. And also, when they issue tornado warnings, it's for the same thing Ed's been talking about, the green and red close to radar, or close to the radar, green and red on radar indicating rotation. And because of that, the tornado warnings issued, and then local emergency management and emergency dispatch sounds the sirens. So if you live in LaPorte County, or I bet you a big chunk of St. Joseph County, you're probably hearing the tornado sirens, and that is why, because there's this particular storm that is warned for it. I have a ton of messages for people saying they're hearing the tornado sirens, and that is why. While the tornado threat is certainly there, the hail threat is pretty serious with this. That bright pink is probably at least quarter size. Starting to get reports near Rolling Prairie, just south and west of New Carlisle, with some pretty big hail. I'm waiting for the size, but I have several people now saying that they've seen hail. And again, I would say at least nickel size, probably more like the size of a quarter coming down.
Yeah, easily with the purple area that's just south of New Carlisle. Also, I know in these situations, especially storm enthusiasts, you know, you want to get to the window and take a picture of this kind of stuff, but you got to keep in mind that in this part of the country, when we're dealing with tornadoes, a lot of them are obscured. You saw that wall cloud picture. If we have, can we bring that wall cloud picture back up? I just want to talk about something real quick here. Okay, we'll try to get to that in a moment. Just pop it up when you can, and I'll start talking about it. Okay, that's another photo. We'll get to it in just a moment. Let's take it back to the velocity mode here, and you can see right where we have red and green next to each other, that's where we're continuing to see the rotation. But what I was talking about is, okay, all right, so there we've got what appears to be a wall cloud. If this picture was in motion, you would see it spinning. But notice this grayer area here, that's a rain shaft, okay, or hail shaft. That can oftentimes obscure the actual tornado. So you may think that there's nothing here, but it's just being obscured by the rain. That's why you can't take pictures of these things as they're coming in this particular setup, because the rain and the precipitation could be obscuring the actual tornado, which could be on the ground. No confirmation of that yet, but we just want to reiterate that it's not a good time to be taking pictures. It's a good time to be getting to your safe place, interior room, lowest floor of your home, until the warning has expired.
Hey, if we go back to Max 2, I also want to mention, I know we've got viewers in Lake and Porter County. If you live near Valpo, new tornado warning issued until 6:45 Eastern. That's 5:45 Central Time Zone. It's for this particular storm, and again, between Gary in South Bend. Obviously, we're concerned with rotation, but also there's a growing flooding concern here because it's continued to rain for almost 2 hours in some of these locations, and you're picking up inches of rain. The ground cannot absorb it. The sewage drains cannot absorb it either, and then it just ponds and starts flooding. And this is particularly true in those low-lying areas. So if you're traveling back home, I know many of you have friends and family here. I would wait these storms out a little bit, and obviously the key here is turn around, don't drown. Flash flooding is one of the largest killers of all weather phenomena. But I want to show the velocity here real quick for LaPorte County and Porter County as well. And again, where you see the bright colors real close to each other, the greens and reds, that's where we're seeing rotation in the sky. This is just south of Valpo, really close to Maryville, so right along US 30 between Maryville and Valparaiso, seeing some of that rotation. And that's pushing due east. So basically Valpo and areas north, I'd say near Chesterton, need to be in your safe spot. And then we're still watching this storm as well. Eastern LaPorte County moving into western St. Joseph County, and that would include the western part of St. Joseph County. As of now, it is 5:56. No updates as far as warnings go, Ed. There's still that severe thunderstorm warning. I would fully expect that to be extended. As far as the tornado warning, it expires in about 3.5 minutes. We'll see if our good friends at the Weather Service extend that. We've seen this rotation with this storm for it's been close to an hour now.
Yeah, and I would say within the past 20 minutes, it's had a consistently weaker look. I never like to say that a storm is weakening, but we have to tell you what's happening as it happens. The only reason I don't like to say it's weakening is because that might mean that's the go-ahead for you to leave your safe place. As long as a tornado warning is in effect, you need to stay in your safe place.
So let's put a storm track on this. Again, this is coming towards South Bend, south side of South Bend, over towards Mishawaka, the south side, Osceola, and eventually Cleveland Township there in western parts of Elkhart County. I put a storm track on there, and you can see within the next half hour to an hour, depending on where you live. As I'd mentioned, from a meteorological standpoint, it looks a little weaker, the rotation. However, and we keep reiterating this, the dynamics present can spin these things up real fast to the point where after one radar scan, it could be on the ground. So we want you to take this seriously at this point, this moment in time at 5:57. It doesn't look terrible as far as rotation, but what there is certainly hail with this, and it's coming to the largest city that we serve. So hopefully if you have a garage, you can put the cars in. There has been reports, I'm starting to get a bunch of them now, south of New Carlisle, between New Carlisle and LaPorte, of quarter-size hail. We've got pictures as well, and I'll try to send those to our producer so we can show them to you. But there is definitely hail with this. Several reports now coming in, Ed.
Sure, and you can see the Crumbstown area in western St. Joe County, the rotation that we're seeing with this storm about to pass right overhead. The Crumbstown area is right there. And this is getting towards a pretty populated part of St. Joe County, being that South Bend is just east of Crumbstown. So we're continuing to watch this. The rotation looks weaker. But again, as Matt was saying, the very next radar scan could show this storm re-energizing, and the rotation could be indeed stronger. And beyond that, we do have a severe thunderstorm warning that does include at least the west side of South Bend, and with that hail, that hail core, which has been very pronounced. Matt, if we can go back into that on the west side of St. Joe County. Yeah, I would not be surprised to get some we have quarter-size hail reports and photos. And again, your viewer photos do invaluable information because it really lets us know exactly what's going on outside. And Matt is actually showing you our hail tracker here, and where we have the pink and the purple showing, when you look at the key here, it says ping pong golf ball. Probably not that big, but it gives you an idea.
Quarter, and we've had that confirmed. So there's definitely quarter-size hail with this, and again, it's heading to the biggest city that we serve, so keep that in mind. As far as it's 5:59 now, no extension on that tornado warning, so that's the good news. However, there's definitely hail with it. And Ed, I'm going to zoom way out here because I know we've got a lot of viewers who joined us at 6. This obviously is round one of probably 2 or 3 that's going to come in this evening.
Actually, they just extended that tornado warning,
they did.
Matt. I did.
All right, there we go. So that does include the metro of South Bend, Mishawaka, Granger, and pushing all the way to Ash Road, the Elkhart and St. Joseph County line.
So we are going to remain on the air. This is definitely concerning. Even though the rotation appeared in the last scan to have weakened, this warning includes the most populated part of the viewing area. So lots of people being impacted by this. This tornado warning now includes the city of South Bend, Mishawaka, up towards Notre Dame, Roseland, Mishawaka area, the northern part of Mishawaka, Granger, even maybe possibly including the Osceola area. Does this go all the way to the Elkhart County line, Matt?
Yep. Goes to Elko
Okay.
County line.
Okay, yeah, so there's the rotation right there moving through the Crumbstown area. And again, these situations can evolve rapidly. So the rotation doesn't look very strong right now. It's clearly there, but not as strong as it did 30 minutes ago. That doesn't mean that a tornado won't develop, but the threat for one is imminent, and we're seeing that on velocity mode. And I'll kind of re-explain what we're looking at here. Matt, can we zoom in again to Crumbstown and show, kind of pause it, because I want to show exactly what our viewers are looking at, because we get a lot of new viewers starting to watch at 6 p.m. So the radar site is in North Webster in Warsaw, and in this mode that we're in is velocity mode. It shows how winds blow with respect to the radar site. So the red shows winds blowing more in the westerly direction. You can see the green here, winds blowing more in the east direction. So you see two winds blowing in different directions next to each other. That's the spinning that we're getting on radar. And that is why the National Weather Service has extended this warning into much of St. Joe County. That includes South Bend Metro, including Mishawaka, including Granger, and the Notre Dame area over towards Roseland as well. So there you see it. Again, that red next to green right over the Crumbstown area. If there is a tornado on the ground, that's roughly where it would be as it continues to move to the east.
So I'll tell you what, Ed, I'll let you have a 2-second break here. I'll let you look at the chat and some of the storm reports and let us know what you see. And I'll give your voice a break if you need to get a drink of water. Ed Russo's been on since 4 o'clock tracking these. But what he's talking about here, you can still see it. We're watching the storm between pretty close to the St. Joseph and LaPorte County line. And again, this warning does include the city of South Bend. So please keep that in mind if you live in the biggest city that we serve here, that there is a potential for a tornado. We continue watching this rotation here. I'm going to put this into to motion here, and you can see, and you guys can, Ed's going to get a drink. You can shut his mic off. He's on mic 4. But I've got my computer here. That way we can be a little interactive with the radar. But again, the Crumbstown the rotation is right there near Crumbstown, pushing to the east. And again, that would include South Bend. This is State Road 23 to give you some perspective. This is the bypass. There's State Road 2. And that's US 20. So the rotation is right there between 2 and 23, heading towards the south side of South Bend. So this is right near the Four Winds Casino there. This is the US 31 exit on the bypass. This area right here is where we continue seeing rotation. I'm going to stop this here and zoom in just a little bit. And you can see, again, where you see the reds and greens, that's where we're seeing the rotations. That'd be right near Crumbstown, pushing right towards State Road 23 and eventually the bypass. If you live on the west side of South Bend and the southwest side of South Bend, you need to be in your safe spot, which would be the lowest level of your home over towards the interior room. Away from windows here is the key. You don't want to be near windows with a situation like this. I'm going to zoom out again, and I'll show you the what we call reflectivity. This is what you see every day on your app. The pinks here are likely hail the size of about quarters, and again, that is real close to the South Bend International Airport, pushing over to the east. So the city of South Bend, including the north side, the south side, and especially the west side here, under the gun for certainly really heavy rain. There is a lot of lightning with this. There is certainly hail, and again, we continue to see this rotation as well. I'm going to put on velocity mode again, and I'm going to do a storm track on this to give you an idea of where this is going. The rotation is right there, again, south of State Road 2, near the bypass, and basically is heading to the east. Do you mind putting a storm track on that for me?
Yeah.
You got something?
Yeah. We actually, what one of our producers said, they do have a picture. Where was it? It said New Road? Okay. Yeah, Matt, I think they just threw up the picture behind you there.
Oh, yes. Okay.
So that was a picture that was just sent in to us.
North of New Road in St. Joseph County and North Liberty. Okay. Yep. So you can see, and one thing I want to note, see the different colors here? That's also a real good indication of hail when you see that right below the cloud line. So obviously the rain here. Anything ominous coming your way, Ed?
Not that I'm aware of. I don't see any additional reports on the chat.
Okay.
Just that, again, this tornado warning is continuing. Radar indicated no confirmed reports yet, but something that we're obviously continuing to watch because it's impacting a very populated area.
Yep. So I'm going to zoom back in. I put that storm track in there for you, and the rotation's looking. Here, let me get the storm track off so we can take a closer look at it together. The rotation's looking a little bit better, I think, than it was. I don't know, 5-10 minutes ago. What do you think? It's
Yeah.
right near Crumbstown, which is what we've been saying, feels like for a couple minutes now.
Yeah, the rotation still looks fairly compact, and we're seeing, the bright reds and the bright greens adjacent to each other. So not surprised that this warning has been extended. The rotation right now over Crumbstown looks like it's going to pass pretty, or if not right over the bypass on the south side of South Bend.
Yep, we'll give them a perspective. There's 23, there's 2, there's the bypass. So the new casino is right there. That's the State Road 2 exit. That's the new Carlisle exit, Michigan City one, US 20, and that is the toll road right underneath our clock. So basically between the Michigan City exit, this is the LaPorte exit, and this is the North Liberty exit where the casino's at. Right west of there is where we're seeing that rotation coming right into the south and into the southwest side of South Bend.
And of course, the other threat we are tracking here is the hail that we've been seeing with this storm. Actually, it's not the hail. Actually, doesn't look as pronounced as it was moments ago. It doesn't mean we can't see that regenerate. But where you see the purple, that's certainly where we could be seeing some $half size hail. We've gotten reports, Matt, of quarter size at least.
Oh yeah, I've got several pictures of quarter size hail real close to Rolling Prairie. So that's confirmed with this storm. The pinks aren't quite as bad as Ed was mentioning, but still there is certainly going to be some hail with this, hopefully the size of pea or nickel or something like that. But there is definitely rotation with this as well. I have had, by the way, no confirmed reports of tornadoes. We've had several pictures of wall clouds. Wall clouds can easily produce tornadoes, and that's why our good friends at the National Weather Service continue this warning into St. Joseph County, because the storm has the potential to develop a tornado. It does not mean there's one on the ground. I have no reports of that. I haven't heard of any reports, at least right now, of any damage in LaPorte County, but there's going to be some from the hail.
We do have another picture from a viewer in LaPorte County. Our producer was just telling me in my ear. So we're going to try to pop that up here for you. Again, similar situation of what we've been seeing, what appears to be potentially a low-hanging cloud there. A little hard to see. But yeah, we got storm spotter reports actually reporting that low-hanging cloud was rotating, a wall cloud, usually a precursor to a tornado.
And that's what we can see on radar. That's what we're showing you right here. We can see the rotation up in the clouds. What radar can't see is where we live, and that's why your reports are very valuable to us. But we want you to go into this thinking there is a tornado. At this point, there may not be, but let's assume there is, because it's going towards the city of South Bend. And that every radar scan we get, that to me looks a little bit better.
Yeah, it
looks more defined.
It looks like it's been going through another cycle. This time it looks like we might be in the intensifying cycle, where we have the brighter greens, brighter reds, showing a greater magnitude of wind, not only blowing with respect to the radar site, but also it's compact. You see that green next to red, and Matt's actually loading another product here that he's going to talk about.
Yeah, this is called correlation coefficient. We rarely show this on TV. But basically, the colors here you see, the radar knows it's ice, they knows it's rain. The blues you see are often defined as radar doesn't know what it is. It could be wood, it could be some sort of debris or dust. I don't see anything that would represent here a lot of debris. So that's the good news. However, there is still some solid rotation with this storm as it pushes to the south side of South Bend. So we'll talk about that real quick. Again, this is State Road 2. There's State Road 4. There's State Road 23. The rotation is just east of Crumbstown. Again, notice how the colors get brighter on that last scan. That would indicate winds are getting a little stronger towards the radar here and away from the radar there. So that's decent rotation. Right along 23, again, this is real close to that Four Winds Casino, the new one in South Bend, pushing. It's going to go real close to it and then probably skirt the south side of South Bend. So the business district there, US 31, Michigan Street. The south side, you need to be in your safe place, lowest level of your home. Interior room away from windows is key when it comes to a storm like this. And this probably, I could put a storm track on it. This will impact the south side and South Bend within 5 minutes, certainly less than 10 minutes, as it's pushing to the east around 45 to 50 miles an hour. And just by the storm speed itself, you can assume the winds associated with it are around that. So 45, 50 mile an hour winds doesn't sound like a lot, but with all the rain we've seen, the tree roots can't grab into the soil and the trees topple over like twigs. And that's what we saw a couple of days ago with the straight line wind in our southern counties. But again, you can see the rotation here. What do you think, Ed?
Yeah, definitely.
It's fairly defined.
Yeah, it is. And we're going to kind of put a storm track on here. Do we know how fast the storm is moving?
About 40, I think it was 45.
Okay-ish. Okay, so we're going to have to zoom out a little bit there. If you want to put a storm track on that real quick. But right there east of Crumbstown, that's where we're seeing, the kind of the red on the green. That's the rotation that we're picking up on radar. And, down the road, Mishawaka, certainly South Bend, needs to keep an eye on this, because those areas are included in the tornado warning, which I believe continues until 6:45. There is the storm, and I was just notified that we do have, we might be having a live picture coming in from the bypass looking west. We're told that rotation is being seen. We're hopefully going to get that image up for you shortly, just so we can put a picture to what we're seeing on radar. And again, your pictures and video absolutely incredibly valuable because it gives us confirmation on what's going on outside.
Yeah, so this is certainly a wall cloud right there. This is the bypass looking to, this would be looking to the west, and this is probably, this is near Ironwood or 31, one of those exits looking to the west. So here's where it bends north, the bypass, and that's where we're watching right there. We can see in the radar it is rotating. What we can't see is underneath it. And again, I've had no reports of tornadoes, but this storm is capable of producing a tornado. We can see it rotating a lot.
Matt, that's actually a pretty good picture of a, are we actually still on it? Yeah, that is a pretty good picture there of a rotating wall cloud. We have confirmation that that is rotating. That is the parent cloud to what could be a developing tornado at any time. No surprise that this storm is warned as it continues to move to the east. So now we do have confirmation of this rotation. Obviously, this is live one. Matt, check that out.
Yeah, that is a textbook classic wall cloud there. What you just saw, I know it looks ominous. It's going to be on the other side of this tree line. Let's stay with this picture here. It'll look creepy with the trees because you won't see the bottom of it.
And that's another reason why you have an obstructed view in these situations, because you could have trees blocking what's going on in the distance. But what we clearly saw there was what appears to be a wall cloud, and hopefully we'll be able to get some visible rotation. On this.
So I saw that is a picture. That is textbook classic wall cloud.
Yeah,
right
it is. It is.
And I know that looks really creepy, right? Because you can't see the bottom, so you think it's a massive tornado, and certainly can understand why. But right under the trees, if we got rid of those trees there, you would be able to see the sky, and it is rotating at a pretty good clip. So we'll stay with this here for a second because they're now moving north. So this is the State Road 23 exit here. They're coming up on the South Bend Four Winds Casino, and that is right where the rotation is, about I'd say 4 or 5 miles to their west.
Yeah, so for those of you just tuning in now, I know we're getting a lot of new viewers constantly tuning in. So it may sound like we're repeating ourselves, but again, as this threat evolves, people are hearing this information for the first time. Let's actually, Matt, let's go back to the velocity mode. I wanted to show exactly what we're looking at on radar. Red next to green, that's where we're seeing the rotation with the storm. And then the camera shot that you see on the road, on the bypass out there, that's actually what we're seeing live right now, right underneath that radar indicated rotation.
Yeah, absolutely. So also, whoever, is that Lauren and Jaden there?
I believe that's Joe and DJ.
DJ, okay. Let's have them, they need to get off the bypass. They don't need to keep chasing the storm.
Sure.
So we saw what we needed to see. So if they want to go to the Four Winds and wait this thing out, that would be good, or just get away from it. They don't need to be there anymore because there's some pretty neat, pretty good rotation here. So this is where they're at. They're right about here. We're going to have them get off the bypass here. Take it back. Yeah.
Okay.
See?
Yeah. All right. Yep. That is clearly a low-hanging, rotating wall cloud. One of the big indications here of a rotating storm is, are the clouds
Can you guys
in a
put me
circular
up
motion?
with that video behind me? Is that possible? That is a perfect. See, now we lost the trees, so you can see the bottom of it. But at any time, perfect. At any time, a tornado can come down within seconds from this because it's rotating up in the sky, and that's only what, 300, 500 feet.
Yeah.
It's not that far. That's what we have to watch. So you see how these little things come down, little funnel clouds? That's what we have to watch, because one of those real quickly could reach the ground. That's where we don't want to be.
And also something else you got to consider here is below the wall cloud, you may not actually see the tornado until it starts picking up debris. So there's certainly a possibility that a tornado could be on the ground, but you're not seeing it yet because there's no well-defined funnel. Oftentimes we see a debris cloud at the surface kicking up debris below a wall cloud that doesn't appear to have a funnel descending from it. So you have to assume that we have a tornado on the ground in that situation. Clearly we're getting confirmation that we're seeing rotation, not there, but just on radar too.
And also with these wall clouds, it can be raining real heavy. That's the gray you see there, and sometimes a tornado can be behind it, which we call rain wrap. You can't see it. And again, that's why the ground truth is important. Certainly a real good wall cloud, and we're starting to get out of the shot, which is good. That means they're moving north of this thing like we asked them to do, because you don't want to be in the path of it. But they're in good shape now. They're pretty close to the US 20 exit, which is about 2-3 miles ahead of this. So this is good. It's going to rain real heavy for them. It'll probably get some hail, but the rotation is now behind DJ and who was it, Joe?
Yes.
So,
Yep,
so
yep.
that's good. However, that was a great example of a wall cloud. And again, underneath that cloud is where a twister could quickly come down. And that's why the National Weather Service, rightfully so, and kudos to them, continued this warning into much of St. Joseph County. Again, there's the green, there's the red, there's the bypass coming right towards the south side of South Bend. From that picture, it certainly looked ominous. And we need to just assume, let's just assume there's a tornado on the ground with this.
And Matt, I'm going to stop you right there. There
Okay.
is a new tornado warning that is now in effect for LaPorte. This is
County?
western LaPorte County. It looks like the same areas that were just warned right along to just south of 80. Now, I will say the rotation here doesn't look as particularly impressive, but I still see it. Yeah, you can still see the red next to green, not as pronounced. But again, LaPorte City right in the path of this, and really one of the other things we've been tracking too is the hail that has been produced by these storms.
Yeah, you can put it up. They got another
Yep.
picture for us. This is South Bend. Oh, that's the same cloud we
Yep.
saw earlier. So that's what you saw in the bypass, just a different angle of it. And you can tell why people are a little anxious, right? Because if you didn't see the ground, it looks like a massive tornado. That's a textbook classic wall cloud, but underneath that is where you can get the spin up tornadoes to develop. And luckily, at least from the shot we saw earlier, didn't see that. But again, it could be what's called rain wrap. Rain hides it. And that's why we want you to take this seriously. And it's approaching the largest city that we serve, South Bend and Mishawaka. So we'll go back. Thanks for that picture, by the way. Keep these coming. These are great information for us. This is reflectivity. This is what you see on your radar app. This is what we show you all the time. Pinks, really, really heavy rain, probably some hail too. Downtown is right there.
Yeah, it's moving right. It looks like it's moving right over South
Actually,
Bend.
can we? Do you have the sky cam up?
Yeah, actually.
We'll let Ed get
okay.
that, and then you can take the sky cam. But nonetheless,
Okay.
here's downtown. The airport's right there. So that area is getting hit real hard. If you live in Mishawaka, it's probably starting to rain. It will. So here's the St. Joseph Health System Hospital looking to the west. It's going to pour here in all but 5 minutes. We'll have Ed put South Bend on.
Okay, yeah, I'm going to turn it. I'm going to turn the Skycam
Oh yeah,
to
there's a good
South
picture. I'll
Bend.
step out of the way here.
Don't take this through Max. Take Skycam full, and I'll try to get on here and make sure that that's loaded. But yeah, definitely some big hail moving right through South Bend. Again, that's part of the tornado warned storm that continues to move through southern portions of, or I should say central portions of St. Joe County. And Matt, you see back to the west there, a tornado warning issued for LaPorte County again.
Yep. And one of the other problems too, while you're doing that, I'm going to try to get up our rainfall. You know, it's hard to talk about flooding because flooding seems insignificant when you've got a tornado warning. But these type of systems that redevelop over the same location, you get inches of rain in a short amount of time, and you can get deadly flooding when something like this happens. No flash flood warnings yet, but that's going to be coming, I think, as this system continues to develop through the evening hours. I'll let Ed take care of the camera there. If you want to go back to the chroma key and then Max 1. I want to show you a wider picture. This is, I've got this way zoomed out here so you can see basically what's coming. Unfortunately, this is wave 1. Here's what we're dealing with now. There's the thunderstorms in Valpo, LaPorte, over towards South Bend. There is much more in Illinois. This is wave 2 that will come through in the next couple of hours.
Yeah, and again, the one we're concentrating on, I know there's another one that was just issued for Porter County, the Valparaiso area included in that. I believe there's another tornado warned storm there also just to the west of LaPorte that's for a different cell, I believe. And Matt, is it up on Max 2?
Here is.
Oh, that's the Skycam.
It's
Let's show
Skycam.
that
Yeah, I want
first.
to show
Okay.
that. You can see a little bit of wind with this. Doesn't look terrible. It's starting to rain though downtown. It's
But
going to get real heavy here.
definitely
in a second.
in the vicinity, we're tracking the potential for some very large hail with that storm. It's already been reported that we've seen at least quarter to $half size. So there's the tornado warned storm moving through South Bend. Again, it looks like the hail, the worst of it, just to the northwest of the downtown area. It's very close, if not soon right over. Here's the other tornado warned cell. Moving through western LaPorte County once again, New Durham, all the way over towards LaPorte. And then we'll have to keep an eye on this storm right over Valparaiso, which could affect southern LaPorte County. So Wanata over towards the Hanna area, monitoring the situation there very closely. But again, the big storm of concern continues to impact much of the city of South Bend, eventually moving into Mishawaka. Roseland, Notre Dame area most likely getting some pretty intense rain and some hail, some flooding too, which we can't discount either.
Nope, we'll go back to rotation here or velocity data. This is storm winds. Again, here I can draw the the arrows to make this a little easier if you're just joining us. This is right around South Bend, the south side. Basically, I mean, there's the bypass, so there's the business district right of the south side. There's downtown, and there's Michigan Street and State Road 23. Rotation's just south of there. So that's what we're watching. But I want to draw the arrows in here real quick to explain this as to what we're seeing. The winds here in the storm are going that way. The winds here are going that way. And it's within a short distance, right? So that's the rotation we're seeing aloft. And it does have a wall cloud that's rotating with it. Again, those can develop tornadoes really, really quickly with a very short warning period of just a few moments at most.
Right, absolutely. And so this is the tornado warned storm that we're continuing to look at for St. Joe County. We do have another area of rotation. Looks a lot weaker, but still a tornado warning is issued. New Durham area over towards LaPorte, right along to in LaPorte County. There was a tornado warning already issued for this area. This is a brand new one that was issued. So remember, interior room, lowest floor of your home, away from windows. You can see the latest scan there of the green and the red next to each other. Not as compact as what we're seeing in the St. Joe County storm, moving right through the South Bend area, or looks to be the rotation, at least the worst of it, on the south side of South Bend. But you know, don't interpret this as far as location literally. This is a general area where we're seeing rotation, where we saw that wall cloud. So anywhere in this area is where a tornado could develop. Again, haven't gotten any confirmation of one on the ground, Matt. It looked like it tightened up there just a hair in the latest scan, and we're going to put a storm track here on.
So again, this is mainly the south side. There's downtown South Bend, all right? So there's the bypass. There's 31 and 20. This here is Ironwood. There's Capitol in 20. Rotation is right along the bypass. So US 20 maybe just a little north, and it's moving almost due east. So that would put in basically downtown Mishawaka points southward under the location of the rotation. And then eventually you push eastward, you get into parts of Elkhart County, which aren't under the warning. But if the rotation stays like this, I have full confidence the National Weather Service will extend that eventually. But basically, South Bend should be in your safe spot. Mishawaka, you need to get there, or you should be in it. And eastern part, so over towards Penn High School, for example, that region needs to be in your safe spot. Once you push over to Elkhart County, you probably have 15 minutes or so, maybe a little less than that in Elkhart County to start getting to your safe spot. This, if it holds its track, by the way, so it goes along the bypass. So we're talking over towards Penn High School, pretty close to Memorial High School in Elkhart County, and then point southward through the bypass.
And Matt, we'll go just west of there because a severe thunderstorm warning was issued for southern portions of LaPorte County, including Hanna, Kingsford Heights, over towards Walkerton. That's with this cell that's now impacting Valparaiso. Tornado warning with that, but it's been extended further east as a severe thunderstorm warning, and the track of this could potentially impact, you know, the same areas that are getting hit now on the south side of South Bend. But again, what we're stressing here is the tornado warned storm right over South Bend. Again, this is moving east, so the Osceola area, Mishawaka. Anyone in the path of this storm under the tornado warning, you're probably hearing the tornado sirens going off. That is that the reason they're going off is because we could there's an imminent danger to life and property with any tornado warning, and that's what we're seeing on radar. And we're going to put the velocity back up on here. We've been showing you this a lot, but it gives us a real good idea on exactly where we're seeing the rotation, and that's pretty much right over South Bend now. Just to the west of Mishawaka, right where we have that red and green kind of on top of each other.
And luckily the hail core looks a little weaker than it did, so that's the good news as it goes over the largest city we serve. However, still a real strong thunderstorm, certainly has rotation with it, probably has hail. It's probably just not the size of quarters or ping pongs like we were seeing in LaPorte County. It's probably like nickel pea size, something like that. But that's still a really strong storm, and you can see it's right over downtown South Bend, going over towards Mishawaka, Elkhart, over towards Dunlap. You're next in line for this, probably Wakarusa as well as we go through the next 15 minutes or so.
Do we have any more live images of anything? Okay, all right. So we're going to continue to track this. We've got probably the best or biggest hail with this falling right over the South Bend area, points northward where we have the purple shading there. And again, where we're most concerned is where we have this red and green. It's kind of been weakening and then strengthening again, weakening and strengthening again. So anyone in the path of the storm, interior room, lowest floor of your home, away from windows, as this until the threat has passed. And this warning, I believe, continues for at least another 20 minutes. And if the rotation still looks like that, we are potentially looking at extended into Elkhart County.
Because I mean, number one, we haven't necessarily had reports of tornadoes, but you saw the wall cloud 10 minutes ago from our live picture there. and those things they come down fast. It doesn't take long if it develops. So that's what we're concerned about. Again, right now the rotation is pretty decent, right along 933, so Lincoln Way, moving in towards downtown, eventually pushing over towards again the Penn High School area of eastern part of Mishawaka, between the bypass and I would say Cleveland at most. That part of Mishawaka needs to be in your safe spot. Basements, interior room, away from windows is the key.
Yep, 331 Capitol Avenue points eastward, all included in this tornado warning as it continues to move east through north central St. Joseph County. And anyone in Elkhart needs to keep an eye on this as well. While a warning is not in effect yet, one could be issued certainly down the road as we're continuing to see this clear rotation on the radar. And I do want to go a little bit west of here because we do have, again, another tornado warning that we are tracking over western LaPorte County. But again, that looks pretty weak to me, but nonetheless is warned, where we are detecting some rotation in that thunderstorm. And then we have a severe thunderstorm warning that has been issued as well further south of there towards Kingford Heights, Walkerton, North Liberty, Wanata, 60 to 70 mile an hour winds along with some pretty large hail. And then we have this outlined green box.
That's flash flood.
Flood warning that was just issued. No surprise there. We're getting training thunderstorms that are moving over the same area repeatedly. And I'm going to switch it back to radar here. Temporarily I'm going to turn the warnings off and loop this. Hold on a second. I'm going to try to loop it here and make sure that you can see exactly what we're talking about. So as we showed the last hour, you can see those storms moving over the same area repeatedly. I mean, that is not good news in terms of flooding potential. We could easily get 2 to 3 inches of rain in this general area alone, where we have the storms moving over the same area, on top of each other.
Yep, that's going to be a concern. These warm fronts are notorious for doing this as well. They build storms over the same location. You can get inches of rain. Number one, my heart goes out to the farmers because I know it's been a real difficult spring. This certainly is going to make things much worse. And number two, flash flood is not just ponding in the roads. Flash flood can mean rapidly increase in water. If you live in a cul-de-sac, the drains that aren't able to take it all, the soil is completely saturated. It cannot absorb anything, so it just runs off to wherever it can go. Creeks can come up really fast when this happens. When you get several inches of rain, the way this is developing from St. Joseph County, LaPorte County, you can get a month's worth of rain in just one day. And I think some locations will probably pick that up, 3+ inches of rain.
Yeah, and you can still see to the west, just Chicagoland south, more rain behind this initial batch that is moving through. So this is pretty concerning. I know, tornado is a buzzword, but you have to keep in mind that also flash flooding can be equally as dangerous.
Exactly. Can you guys put up the chroma key real quick? I want to show something that Ed put up. This is a good example. If we can loop this here, Ed, this is what we also have to watch. See how these things explode real fast? These can become supercells really, really quick. What's a supercell? It's not in a line like this. These things can tap into upper level winds and start rotating real quick. So we need to watch. There are no warnings, but notice how that developed within 8-10 minutes. The higher these things get in the atmosphere, they can grab onto some different wind direction, shear, and it could develop some rotation. So we'll keep an eye on this. There are no warnings for Knox and Winamac, but still, these things can get pretty big. And you haven't seen any rain down here, so it's pretty warm. There's a lot of fuel for the storms to watch. But we still have the tornado warning for South Bend. By the way, I should have mentioned this earlier. It does include southern parts of Berrien and Cass County, so the city of Niles and Edwardsburg. The rotation south of you, though, luckily, despite you being in the warning, the rotation's right over South Bend, basically over Mishawaka. Can you put on velocity?
Yeah, Matt, it looks like a new tornado warning was issued for the northern part of St. Joe County, extending into southwestern Cass, which would include the Edwardsburg area. So let's go back to velocity and see exactly what we're looking at. But you can see that red box actually extends up into southwestern Cass County.
Yeah.
But right now, really the only area of concern to us on radar, at least, is this area of rotation moving right through the Mishawaka area. Again, right where we have that red and green, kind of broadening out a little bit, which can be a sign that it might be weakening a bit. But again, these things can weaken and then strengthen again and then weaken. So the threat is still obviously there for a tornado. Even though we still haven't had confirmation of one, one could soon develop at any time in this type of situation?
Emergency dispatch reporting as of right now, no damage in St. Joseph County,
Okay.
so that's good. We definitely have the hail. Again, this storm is rotating a lot. We can see it. It's been doing this for, I mean, it's going on 90 minutes now. So we can see the rotation. The reason warnings have been issued is because it could easily develop a tornado within a very short warning period. So that's why these warnings continue. I guess technically it goes up into Cass County. I see no rotation up there.
Yeah.
The main concern is basically Mishawaka over towards, again, the Penn High School area, pushing over towards Elkhart Memorial High School in far western Elkhart County. That warning yet, as of now, has not been extended, but it probably will be. So
Yeah, especially if
you
it looks
live
like that. Yep.
in western Elkhart County, you should start preparing now for the potential for a tornado, or at least a storm that has the potential for developing one. Right now it's over Mishawaka, again pushing over towards Penn High School, Osceola area. You're going to see this come right overhead. You'll see the wall cloud. We showed it to you earlier. That will come through, and then underneath that is where a tornado could develop. Haven't had any reports of anything on the ground. That's good. Minimal damage reports as of now. But again, this is just wave 1 of 2, maybe 3 that will come in the next couple of hours.
And Matt, we'll go back to the west again towards LaPorte. This is again another tornado-warned storm for western LaPorte County, right along 2 over towards Durham. The rotation here looks pretty broad, but nonetheless, you might be hearing the sirens going off again for this storm. Certainly the rotation with this storm not as pronounced. It doesn't mean a tornado isn't imminent or isn't on the ground. We don't have any confirmation of that, but remember, you got to treat all these tornado warnings the same and get to an interior room, lowest floor of your home immediately.
And the reason they're issuing this, you can see rotation clearly, but the dynamics of the entire area really support quickly developing thunderstorms, and there's different wind directions at different heights in the atmosphere. The storms grow, they can grab onto that wind and twist because of it. And what Ed means by broad, for example, see the red here in LaPorte and the greens, a little far away, right? Broad, so the wind's going something like this, but if it was really close together, it'd be something like this. So that's what we have to watch. When the colors are really bright and close to each other, not good. When they're kind of far away, it's still rotating, but the likelihood of a strong tornado, or really a tornado, is quite a bit less.
And Matt, I think we have video that our producer, are we able to pop that up? You said that's between Crumbstown and, okay, Grant Road, okay.
That's that same wall cloud
Yep.
we've been seeing.
Yep, and obviously no surprise there with the rotation we're continuing to
And again,
see.
I know that looks, well, it is ominous, but what looks bad is because there's a tree line there. If we took the trees out, you'd be able to see the horizon. It's underneath that cloud where a tornado can form. That's not a massive tornado on the ground, but you know, I'm glad Mother Nature works this way because it makes people take this seriously. They see that and then they go in their basement. So that's the good news. As of right now, no warning's been issued for Elkhart County. Because we keep seeing this wall cloud, because we've had, at this point, hundreds of confirmations of it rotating, I would expect the Weather Service to extend it, at least a severe thunderstorm warning. We'll see if they extend the tornado warning. But as of right now, it is St. Joseph County and it is LaPorte County where we're watching 2 different storms. Definitely has hail with it, has heavy rains, got lightning and thunder, and the storm itself continues to rotate.
So Matt, I'll switch it back over to reflectivity here, and we do have some stronger storms breaking out over western Stark County, Pulaski County. These are not warned yet, but they're looking pretty ominous on radar. These have exploded
They
within
weren't
the
here
past
15
20
minutes
minutes
ago. Yep,
yeah, they weren't here
exactly.
15 minutes ago. So you know, once the right trigger gets going in the atmosphere, you can go from a little puffy cloud to a giant thunderstorm in 20 minutes.
And there is, I know we don't have it up. We don't need to put it up, but there, north of Winnemac between Knox right here, there's a little bit of rotation. Nothing significant, and that's why the National Weather Service hasn't warned anything. But if that gets a little tighter, like we mentioned earlier, the winds start going different directions in a close proximity, we may see a warning issue down here. So that's something we'll watch. At this point, it's near North Judson, but it's not significant.
And
at
Matt,
this
we
point,
can
so.
maybe just kind of go. Yeah, see, we're not seeing any reds next to greens.
Yeah,
but
see the kind of like gray color? That's the beginning of the red, if you will. So that's the winds going this way.
Right.
Can you go up just a little bit?
Yep,
That's right
yep.
under the 3. Right there is what we'll watch. Again, that's not very significant. We'll focus on LaPorte County and St. Joseph County. We're certainly, I'm keeping an eye for our friends over in Knox, down towards Winnemac. I've got the different radar product here, so I'll watch it for you. But we'll keep a focus on LaPorte County and St. Joe County. That storm looks a little bit better than it did over towards LaPorte, so that's good.
So and then again, the storm of concern looking broader, which is a sign that, you know, we may be seeing this going through a weakening phase. Again, we've got another 11 minutes or 10 minutes or so of this warning, which easily could be extended if the rotation continues to be present on radar, which we currently are seeing. And just south of Kingsford Heights, Matt.
Yep, that's what I was going to pick up. Yep, there's some rotation there. So again, these things spin up real fast. I don't have any reports of tornadoes. I don't think anything's come down yet, but the storms are rotating and they can happen so fast. The Weather Service may not have an opportunity to warn it. So if you get a big storm, let's treat these things as if they have the potential to produce a tornado. So that's why we want you to take this seriously. I know we've got a lot of storm enthusiasts around the area. Let's limit the driving around the area and chasing these things, because the dynamics here support things that pop just like that. And we don't want you to get caught in something like that.
And Matt, the warning, as suspected, now just extended for Elkhart County until 7 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. So this storm has had a tornado warning with it since it came across the Porter-LaPorte County line. So this is definitely one of the more longer-lived supercells that we've been seeing this evening. The latest scans have shown that this rotation has weakened a bit, but again, it comes through in waves. It may strengthen and then weaken again, but right there is the area of concern, Mishawaka over towards the Osceola area.
Yep. And just because we don't think there's a tornado on the ground doesn't mean you don't want to take this seriously. You can see a lot of rotation with this, and that's why they issue a warning. National Weather Service doesn't issue it because there's one on the ground. We try to issue it to give you a heads up that there's the potential for one. Anytime the Weather Service issues tornado warnings, you can bet the sirens will go off in those communities. So Elkhart, down towards Dunlap, I think this includes, does it include Wakarusa? It's really close. Nope, it's just north of Wakarusa. But Elkhart, Dunlap, Simonton Lake areas, obviously Osceola, basically between Bristol and Mishawaka. If you live anywhere between those two communities, the tornado sirens are going off and you're in the area where you need to be in your safe spot under the house, obviously the basement interior room away from windows. It looks better, but again, this is what they do. They pulse up and down like this. It looks good for 10 minutes, and then 10 minutes later, get a little bit rough. Apparently you have live video. Let me know where it's from again. Oh, okay. Elman-Kern in St. Joseph County. So this is looking at the storm. Elman-Kern would be looking to the north and east. So the storm, they're now behind the storm. And notice it looks completely different behind it, right, than it does in front of it. You want to talk about that?
Yeah. So right there, what you're seeing is a lowering of what appears to be, and Matt, what was the location on this spot again?
So this is St. Joe County looking towards the storm. They're behind it.
Okay. Yeah, so this would be looking towards the north, where we obviously have what appears to be a rain or hail shaft, right where you see kind of that gray area on the left side of your screen. And with these situations, that's also why trying to look for the tornado, trying to get a visual on it can be incredibly dangerous, because in this area, typically in this part of the country, we don't get that classic tornado with a dry backdrop. Usually there's a lot of moisture in the air, it's rain wrapped. So it could be embedded within that very area of very heavy rain and hail, but probably definitely some hail in that area.
And I'm sure our colleagues at the National Weather Service are watching, and Ed and I usually try to send you storm reports and all that on chat and social media, but kind of preoccupied right now. I do want to let you know, though, for our colleagues at the Weather Service, I have tons of reports of large hail the size of quarters or bigger between Mishawaka and Osceola. So near Penn High School, and I can't pick up the Ville, but anyway, whatever you're showing, it's definitely verifying as far as hail goes with these particular storms.
Yeah, no surprise, the Osceola area, that's where we are getting the purple popping up there, indicating
there you go. So
that's where we could see our hail cores.
And they're probably, I know they're the size of quarters or better. So these bright pinks here, if you guys want to put up the chroma key, north and east of Mishawaka is where they're at. So again, real close to Penn High School on the east side of Mishawaka, pushing over towards Elkhart County. So Memorial High School area, basically the city of Elkhart. And this is starting to move, at least the hail core looks just a little bit north. So the north side of Elkhart, Simonton Lake area, and maybe the far southern parts of Edwardsburg, right along the state line there.
Yeah, it does. Yep. So Cass County is in this newly issued tornado warning, again, continuing for areas along Route 12 in southern Cass County under this warning as well, further south, as Matt was mentioning, towards Simonton Lake, Elkhart, Goshen, Dunlap, exercising your tornado safety plan, which is interior room, lowest floor of your home. Also, can't discount the flooding threat with these storms. We're seeing the same storm move over the same areas repeatedly which, you know, I wouldn't be surprised to see 2 to 3 inches of rain.
No, and that's a big problem.
Yeah.
For sure. Hey, can we also go to, I know Kingsford Heights, so that's southern LaPorte County, Kingsbury area. It's not under a tornado warning, but the rotation's looking a little more significant. Well, first off, if you guys don't mind, our friends in production, can you throw up the chroma key? Yeah, thanks. This is certainly where the hail's at. No doubt, quarter-size hail here. And again, we continue to get reports. So every time we see a bright pink on our radar, we know that there's hail coming down with this. But if you want to put up the velocity real quick, Ed, there's
just hold on one moment
decent
here.
rotation.
I'll get that
just south of Kingsford Heights.
I'll get that loaded here. Again, we're going to go back towards LaPorte County, towards the Kingsford Heights area.
So I know the tornado warning's here and up, but I mean that's still some pretty good circulation there, pushing to the east. So
that's right along 6, Kingsford Heights, moving to the east.
Yep, right along US 6 and 35. That intersection there is where we're seeing some extra rotation. No warning with that, but I know our colleagues of the Weather Service are keeping an eye on it. I just want to give you a heads up. If you live that way, there's at least some rotation. Doesn't mean there's a tornado on the ground, but certainly has the potential to be. And we can focus back on, well, while you're here, do you want to take a stroll up LaPorte County?
Yeah. You want me to switch it back to reflectivity or leave it on velocity?
Well, it doesn't look real impressive velocity.
Okay, yeah,
so
we'll switch it back here and show you what we're looking. I mean, that green box, we have a lot of warnings on top of each other here, but there you see that green outline. Matt can probably trace it for you.
Yeah, so this is the flash flood warning. Basically, ignore the green box. Basically, if you live in LaPorte County and St. Joseph County, we're getting tons of rain and we can get flash flooding. It's just within this area technically, but nonetheless, flooding is going to be a concern here. The actual tornado warning is right here. So eastern part
and
of...
Matt, that rotation we were just watching, the National Weather Service has now issued a tornado warning for that very area of rotation that we were concerned with.
Okay.
No surprise. So this is now including Kingsford Heights, over into southern LaPorte County, into southwest St. Joe County. This includes Walkerton, North Liberty, all the way up towards Crumbstown. Again, interior room, lowest floor of your home. This is a newly issued tornado warning for southern LaPorte, moving into southern parts of St. Joseph County. And as we were showing, Matt, that rotation really picking up.
I'd say maybe 5 hamlets right around here along 30. So I would say just north of there, and Kuntz Lake, just north of you. So Walkerton, safe spot for you. Lowest level of your home, interior. Hallway's a good place. Get away from the windows. That's the key here. Get away from windows. If this was a massive tornado on the ground, we would be able to tell you.
Yeah, I mean,
we don't see those signatures, but 80-mile-an-hour winds will blow through your windows and cause some big trouble.
And we also can't discount the straight line wind threat. You know, as I've mentioned before, tornado tends to take, people take on more fear with the word tornado, but a lot of the tornadoes that do develop around here are weak. But again, a weak tornado can still do damage, but straight line wind can be stronger than a weak tornado. So treat it all as you would a tornado warning.
And straight line winds impact a much larger area, like we saw Wednesday night, Thursday morning here. But yeah, we'll keep an eye on this. So Kingsbury, it's basically north or south of you. So you're okay, Kingsbury, but Kingsford Heights down towards again Walkerton. So like Ed said, right along US 6, that 6 and 23 intersection. If you live there, good time to get in that safe spot.
So that tornado warning is issued for that's until 7:30. That's until 7:30, and I believe let me put a little query on this and see exactly when that warning for St. Joe and Elkhart, that continues until 7 o'clock this evening. That's again for St. Joe County and eastern Elkhart. The rotation there still looks a little more broad. And Matt and I are going to switch here. Okay.
Yeah, I'll go back here. That's fine. Okay. I just want to, we're also on our radio stations if you lose power. So you can catch us on Sunny 101.5, WSBT, all that good stuff. Yeah, where do you see? Or do you want to do the walk?
So still pretty broad rotation there for the Elkhart and St. Joe County tornado warning, which includes, Mishawaka. It looks like the rotation now moving into Elkhart County, looking weaker to us. But again, that doesn't mean that there's no longer a threat. There's still rotation. A tornado could soon develop from a situation like that. The storm we are now concerned about, it's getting that more compact, tight look to it with that green next to red.
I'll tell you what, Ed, why don't we, let me look at some stuff behind the scenes. We'll switch. So you can put on Ed Russo's settings here. And then I've got some products up on the laptop if you want to use that. Yeah, I'll work the radar for you. Let me know what you want.
So we've got a lot of warnings in place here. This is Kingsford Heights, and just to the east of there, that's where we have the wind blowing away from the radar site, which is in Warsaw, just north of there, North Webster, and then Kingsford Heights, we have winds blowing towards the radar site. That's where we're picking up on the rotation. This is a newly issued warning, continues until 7:30, a tornado warning in place. It looks like the rotation is right on top of right near the intersection of 6 and 35. So this continues to race to the east. And as I move to the other side here, you can see we've got Walkerton, North Liberty in this, Kuntz Lake as well, even down the road towards La Paz. So the red box, that's where we have the tornado warning in place. Also into Elkhart County as well.
That one looks quite a bit better than
yes,
it did earlier. But
yes,
again, they pulse up and down, right?
Yeah, getting that more broad look to the rotation, which is a sign that it's weaker right over Bago and also moving east towards Concord, Elkhart. Still, if you're obviously in this tornado warning, you want to get to your safe place. You know, if you live in a 2-story home, it should take you generally less than 30 seconds to get there. All you need to be doing is taking your physical body downstairs, not gathering personal items, because you want to get to your safe place as soon as possible, because these situations can evolve and deteriorate very, very rapidly. So Matt, we can show the reflectivity here and talk about some of the very heavy rain that just continues to fall over the same area, and where we have actually, yeah, okay, that's good. So right here, this is the tornado warned storm impacting eastern St. Joe County, western Elkhart, and then this is LaPorte County, already being hit by now the second or third strong thunderstorm within the past couple of hours. And look at all of this lightning.
I was just going to say that. Yep, good eye. One thing I want to mention about that lightning is almost, you can bet on there's some hail with this. The hailstones up in the clouds clink up against each other. That's what creates the electrical discharge. When you've seen a bunch of lightning around that, the pink there, real good confidence there's some hail with this, at least, Ed, I would say the size of quarters. And actually I can show you, oops, I'm sorry, I took the computer from you. I'll show you the
no, that's okay, Matt, you can take over.
The scope.
Yep.
See the reds there? Now this is probably being a little aggressive up the tennis ball. I don't think they're that big, but nonetheless, the pink and reds at minimum the size of quarters right over Kingsford Heights. And it's pushing to the east, so Walkerton, man, if you have a garage, I'd hope that the vehicles are in there. You're going to want them in.
And I will say, Matt, the hail threat with this particular storm appears to be more significant than what we've seen today, simply because there's more lightning. When you have more hail in a thunderstorm, that creates a charge differential between the top of the cloud and the bottom, and nature fixes that with lightning. So lightning is often an indication that we have some or a lot of hail in a thunderstorm.
Let me do one thing, Ed, here. We'll get a little technical here. I want to show the let me mess with the reading here. Ignore the colors here, but basically what you can see, these indicate winds, but Ed, you want to show the height of there? Behind you is the actual
I'll
height.
move to the other side. You can see this up to, what's that say?
That's 40,000 feet.
Yeah, 40,000 feet.
So let me turn on reflectivity here. So the cloud tops in this particular storm are higher than where commercial jets fly. 35,000 feet is where most of the airlines fly. Temperature up there is about 70 to 80 below zero. So when you get this high in a cloud, you can bet on some serious hail as that moisture gets thrown way up there. It gets too heavy and it's got to come back down.
And that tells you, when you get up to quarter, half dollar, even golf ball size hail, that tells you how strong the updraft is in a thunderstorm. And usually the stronger the updraft, the higher the clouds from the updraft, or the higher the clouds of the thunderstorm that we see. And no surprise, they're up to 40, even 45,000 feet.
In the blue there you see 20, 30,000
right
feet
here.
is a lot of wind up there as well. And the rain sometimes can grab onto that and push it down. And that's what we call a microburst or straight line winds. So this storm's pretty nasty here in LaPorte County. I'll get rid of this and get the normal view back for you. But
yeah, so the rain actually pushes down on that colder air, and the colder air comes down with a lot of force, spreads out at the surface, and bingo, we've got some
you can see that right there on reflectivity. That is probably a microburst. That wind there.
Right
here, I'll
there.
put up the mounts. I bet you that is.
Matt, can we put a quarry on that?
That's what I'm doing right now. Yep. Oops, wrong one here. I'm sorry. That's probably 60 plus miles an hour.
And this could be a situation where we're looking at, some very damaging straight line winds spreading out just shy of 70 miles an hour. So don't think that if there's not a tornado that there's no threat. Straight line winds are also a threat as well. But again, this is where we're seeing some rotation with the storm, and that's why we certainly have the tornado warning associated with it. Walkerton, definitely want to get to an interior room, lowest floor of your home. Looks like we're seeing some of the worst of the wind just to your west, moving along 6. So expect things to go downhill that way. Also, if you're up towards North Liberty as well. Matt, can we zoom out just a little bit there? And the rotation itself looking a little broad, but what's concerning to me is obviously the velocity, the wind speeds that we're detecting here.
So yeah, again, the brighter color Colors indicate gustier winds. What's happening, there's an incredible amount of rain and probably hail with the storm. It pushes all that air from the clouds straight to the ground. Once it hits the ground, it's got to spread out, right? And that's what we call microbursts or straight line winds. When this happens, these do much more damage locally than tornadoes because, I mean, this will go over the entire city of Walkerton. Unlike a weak tornado, that would impact a very, very small area. We're probably, actually, I'm fairly confident, at least in Walkerton, just to the west, there's going to be some tree damage, probably going to lose some power here. The very southern part of St. Joe County, right around 23 and 6, that little, the boot heel, if you will, south of North Liberty there of St. Joseph County, and also along the 6 corridor, so La Paz, Lakeville, that area.
Yeah, I'll move to the other side, so right over here, I'll just move this out of the way just a little bit so we can kind of get a better idea of what Matt's talking about. Yeah, further east here, La Paz, up towards Lakeville, that's where we're seeing some really, really strong winds. I wouldn't be surprised, Matt, if that was between 70 and 80 miles an hour, potentially just west of the Walkerton area. And again, this is the same area where we have the tornado warning still in place.
So I'm going to put a quick storm track on this, Ed, and you can show some cities.
Okay.
And I'll put the, there you go.
Yeah, so Walkerton, you know, interior room, lowest floor right now. This particular setup has it, the worst of it coming by just shy of 7 o'clock. Lakeville, 7:24, Bremen, 7:38. And again, this tornado warned storm remains in effect until 7:30 this evening. And there's a possibility that, again, this could get extended like some of the other warnings that we've been seeing.
So some good news. We mentioned this earlier. The rotation looked kind of weak up here in Elkhart County, and the warnings have been canceled, at least tornado warnings. See this yellow box? There's a severe thunderstorm warning that goes into St. Joseph County, Michigan, and LaGrange County in northern Indiana. That doesn't mean that a tornado will not happen, but the rotation is pretty broad at this point to where the main concern continues to be some straight line wind, and there's probably some hail with this particular storm as well.
And Matt, the other thing I want to show, we'll put it back on reflectivity. And yes, definitely some hail there, no surprise, into Elkhart, Dunlap, Goshen, over towards Bristol, Middlebury. A lot of lightning with the storm over towards Kingsford Heights, where we still have
I'm going to take off that lightning. That is a nasty storm.
Yes, it is.
There is certainly quarter-size hail on that thing, heading right towards North Liberty and Walkerton.
And as we zoom out even further, a lot of these storms are often most tornadic when they're discrete, when they're isolated, when they got an atmosphere all to themselves. Now we are seeing a lot of these storms start to congeal into a line, so the transition more or less becomes a tornado threat to a straight line damaging wind threat. Okay, so that's a big transition that can happen as these storms start to come together and form a line. They still have they're still somewhat separate, but you can see they're all trying to form into that line that's now pretty much north to south, covering the entire western portion of the viewing area. All of that continuing to move to the east. So Kosciuszko County, definitely LaGrange County, St. Joe County, Michigan needs to keep an eye on this. And Matt, I believe in the earlier shows I was talking about how LaGrange and St. Joe County were not under the tornado watch. I do believe they've been added. Okay. If we can check that. And I said that would probably happen.
I do want to mention, too, the one good news, those of you who are waiting for the end of this, the one thing that does happen, though, when you have storms like this is they eat up all the instability. So this area here is super overworked. So we expect once this stuff gets through the area, I'd say, the next 2, maybe 3 hours at most, that should be it. So the threat will quickly decrease as we go into the later evening. So luckily tonight we're not worried about severe weather during the overnight hours. This is pretty much it. But as it gels into a line here, flooding is going to be a problem. The hail threat's not going away. And clearly the tornado threat's not either. They did, our friends at the National Weather Service said, although you see the red box there, that has officially been expired. Okay. So the tornado threat between South Bend and Elkhart is gone. However, go ahead.
Yeah, so that red box I would assume will drop off quickly here.
That is still the nastiest storm, though, of the viewing areas.
Let's go back to velocity mode, because again, this is where we're most concerned right now. Again, that tornado warning, as Matt was saying, is being lifted, but we've got some pretty strong winds here. Matt, let's pause it if we can put a little quarry on it and get maybe some radar estimated wind speeds with this. If I had to guess there was going to be some wind damage around the area, based on what I'm seeing on radar, I would think it would be in and around the Walkerton area. Also, we have some green immediately west of the red area, which is showing the rotation. We've been getting estimates here just shy of 70 miles an hour, and that's enough to topple trees, lift sheds. So that's why we're concerned with the storm. Definitely the most concerning storm is the one moving through eastern LaPorte County to southwestern St.
Yep.
Joe. And
So
the hail, too.
The winds are going like this.
Yep.
Coming to the backside, they're going like this. Again, the rotation is fairly broad, like Ed mentioned, so that's good. I don't think there's a huge tornado threat. There certainly is the potential for one if this tightens up. But I want to mention, too, we've seen so much rain, not just today, but the past several days. The tree roots cannot grab into the soil. So a 57-mile-an-hour wind may not sound like a lot to you, but that's going to do more damage than it normally would for multiple reasons. The soil's wet. Number two, the leaves are now out on the trees, right? So they're going to grab onto that wind, and it puts more force on the tree itself. So we're going to get some tree damage from this particular storm, which will obviously lead to some power outages, I think, later on this evening.
Yeah, and Matt may have already mentioned this. The root system of trees are much looser. They don't have much structural integrity when the ground is saturated. So again, they can easily topple over because of that. And Matt, does that look like some rotation trying to develop down near Knox?
Yeah, it does. There's no warning there, but that's certainly some broad rotation again. And we saw this a little earlier. You know, the Weather Service waits a little bit. They analyze several runs of the radar scans. But eventually, if it stays like this, I wouldn't be surprised if Stark County also goes under a tornado warning, just because there is some rotation within that particular thunderstorm.
And the colors themselves have been getting brighter, indicating that the wind field is strengthening. But it still has that broad look to it, not entirely compact. But again, as Matt was saying, that's what we saw in LaPorte County, and a couple scans later we saw a compact rotating area on velocity. So we'll go back up to that storm of concern. Again, a tornado warning continues for southwestern St. Joe County. Matt, when does that expire? I think that runs until,
expires. Let me get it
I
here
think
for
that
you.
expires at 7:30. Regardless, North Liberty, Walkerton area, Lakeville definitely want to be seeking shelter.
Yep.
Interior room, lowest floor of
6:30
your home.
Central, so in about a half hour.
Yep. So there's the purple there. That's right along 6, right? Kingsford Heights over towards
That's US 6.
Walkerton.
And notice the last couple scans there, it does look weaker, but these storms, this is what they do. They pulse up. They're really intense for 5 to 10 minutes, and then they take a breather, and then they get intense again. So right now it's taking the breather, but one would suspect in 10 minutes it's going to pulse back up.
Yeah, and let's go down to Stark County and see what that one looks like. Again, these storms have been strengthening. We don't have any warnings issued with them yet, but this is something we're going to be watching. That rotation near Knox. So this is, if we can pause that. So we're looking at reflectivity, what you're used to looking at. And right here on the southwestern corner of this storm, we actually have 2 storms here, one here and one here. This is the southwestern side of the storm, that southwest appendage, where we oftentimes see the rotation. And that's where we could be seeing potentially a developing wall cloud, maybe even down the road a developing tornado. We'll take it back to the velocity mode and show you where we kind of have that green next to red, which is giving us that indication. Matt, further south into Stark County, closer to Knox, if we can go there. Yeah, right there where it looks like maybe it's trying to tighten up just a little bit. So Knox, definitely east over towards Ober, Burr Oak, towards Indiana 8, down the road, Twin Lakes. Just south of Plymouth needs to keep an eye on this storm. Not seeing a warning yet, but that could change in a matter of time. That's definitely another storm of concern that we're looking at. But the main one, further north into the Walkerton area, southwestern St. Joseph County, we'll try to get, actually, hold on one second here. Let me step off and try to move it up just a little bit. Yeah, Walkerton right there. Matt, it might look like it's trying to, the rotation there might be trying to pulse up a little bit once again. So Walkerton, Coons Lake, Tyner, La Paz, all should be exercising your safety plan right now when it comes to a tornado or straight line winds.
Yep, both of them. Both of them. Let me zoom back out. Let's give you the overall picture. I know many of you are probably just joining us. Here's the overall picture. So basically, a good chunk of the viewing area is seeing thunderstorms. I know the Warsaw area, Goshen, you're getting a breather. They are coming your way. Everybody will see rain out of this. There's a handful of storms we're concerned about for whatever reason. This tornado warning here should have been dropped.
I think that it's set to expire at 7 o'clock, so in about 2 minutes, Matt, I'm willing to bet that polygon red box drops off.
This is the strongest storm, though. Southern LaPorte County, southern St. Joseph County, Walkerton, North Liberty, probably some hail. We've been watching this thing pulse up, so you get really big hail, and then it kind of takes a breather, and then when it takes a breather, the rotation starts. As of now, I've been looking as Ed's been talking, haven't seen any reports of significant damage, so that's good. But well, first off, there's going to be damage later on, I think, because of the hail itself.
Yeah, and definitely, you know, I wouldn't be surprised, you know, in the next hour or so, we start getting reports here of some damage in the Walkerton area, which, you know, Could be tornadic, could be straight line, but again, these are strong winds that can do damage. And again, right here, the Walkerton area, westward towards Kingsford Heights. This cell, one of the stronger ones right now, moving to the east, that is the one that has the tornado warning associated with it. I believe that runs until 7:30. And Matt, that warning again, I think is going to probably drop off here. It's just seconds before 7 o'clock.
Okay.
And if we can go west,
I'm sorry, I was just looking around, make sure we don't see anything else. Where do
Yep.
you want to start at?
Let's actually go back down towards the Walkerton area, since that's one of the more concerning areas that we've been seeing. And over the past couple of stands, you see that green start to blossom. That's an indication that we're seeing winds in different directions next to each other start to strengthen. So we could see a redeveloping wall cloud, potentially even a tornado. We don't have any confirmation of that on the ground. A lot of times, you know, the National Weather Service has storm spotters, which do a fantastic job that notify the National Weather Service about what they're seeing with respect to the strongest storms across the area. And we don't have confirmation of that yet, but what we do have is obviously the very heavy rain, large hail, potentially strong damaging straight line winds. And it looks like the worst of this is at least the hail just to the west of Walkerton, right along 6, as this continues to move to the east. So Matt, if you might be able to drop, yep, there, okay. So this is our hail tracker. You can see the chart above here showing you the size. This showing golf ball, probably a little shy of that, but definitely this is one of the bigger hail producing thunderstorms. It's generating a ton of lightning, which is a sign that there's a lot of hail within this storm. So Matt, do you have anything else?
Nope, looking around right now, I haven't had any serious reports. But again,
Okay.
The reason with all the warnings, number one is the hail. The hail's nasty with these. Number two, the tornado warnings, as of right now, is basically a precaution because the storms are rotating. They can quickly produce a tornado. Now, as of now, I have no reports of anything on the ground and no damage associated with tornadoes. However, what was 10 minutes ago? Walkerton had a nasty microburst that came through, so I bet we'll hear some damage down that way. If you live there, let us know once the storm passes, obviously.
And Matt,
so we can get out of your
our
safe
producer
spot.
just said, what county is that in? Okay, LaPorte County, Fish Lake, we have video of some hail. We're going to try to pop it up here behind me if that can play. But yeah, I would guess, Matt, that's at least nickel to quarter size.
Yep.
And that's a big thing that we've been seeing across the area.
And it's a lot of it.
Yeah,
that's
that is
not
a
just
lot
a
of it.
couple. So that's raining down hail. And that, from some of the pictures and reports I have on my Facebook page, that is the smallest hail, I think, with that particular storm.
Yeah.
We've
Yeah.
seen a lot with that.
So most likely stuff even potentially even larger than that.
However, I do want to loop this, Ed, for you. And you will notice it has, at the moment, weakened a little bit as it pushes towards Walkerton and North Liberty. Now, Kingsford Heights got hit hard. Now it's pushed over to the east a little bit. And you can see just by looking at the colors, Ed, you can talk about that. It is weakening.
Yeah, so the hail core, the purple area that we were seeing on this storm, you can see it just within the past couple of scans there, it kind of really falls apart. So that is a sign of the weakening storm, but we're still getting some rotation associated with this thunderstorm as it moves into the Walkerton area. And we're going to go back to velocity mode here. Let me just a second. And right there, that's Elkhart County. So the tornado warning for Elkhart County has been lifted. But this area right over or just south of Walkerton, you see where we have the red and the green just south of there. That's the spinning that we're detecting on radar. This is along and south of 6. So if you live in La Paz over towards Lakeville, even just north of the Plymouth area, interior room, lowest floor of your home, away from windows until the threat has passed. And this warning continues until 7:30. So we've got another, I believe, half hour to go. But this is not the only storm we're tracking. We're going to take it back to the reflectivity, what you're used to looking at on the radar. And you can see just the entire area seeing this line of thunderstorms. All these thunderstorms are developing into a line. And usually when that happens, I'll loop it here for you so you can get the motion on it. Let me turn those warnings off real quick. But usually as they turn into a line, the threat more or less becomes tornadic to straight line damaging wind, which you should treat just as well that as a tornado warning, because straight line winds can be 80, 90 miles an hour, which is actually stronger than a weak tornado. So you see a lot of lightning breaking out with that southern LaPorte, southwestern St. Joe County storm that's also now moving into northern portions of Marshall. So we're going to zoom in there and kind of get you an idea on what's going on with that storm. Again, to the east, LaGrange County, St. Joe County, not seeing much with this activity yet, but a lot of the action is just to your west. So that is the line of storms. Also, the another one just to the west over towards Chicago area, moving to the east. That will be interesting to watch to see if that holds together, because the atmosphere is becoming incredibly worked from the storms that are moving through now. So right over the Walkerton area, definitely probably some hail falling from that. We're going to switch this over to velocity mode and pause it for you and show you. It does look like the rotation's becoming a bit broader, which is another sign that the rotation, in fact, may be weakening. But still looking at that tornado warning continuing for another 25 minutes or so. And we're going to remain on the air for you. Actually, yeah, there it is, down towards Walkerton right there. It's still looking pretty broad. Coons Lake over towards the Walkerton area. That's still where we're seeing the rotation, the potential for a possible tornado on the ground. None confirmed yet. I'm going to take it over and check to see if we have any reports on what's going on in the Walkerton area. Continuing that warning for Marshall, St. Joseph, Stark until 7:30. And again, the storm is moving east at around 35 miles an hour, which honestly is you know, slow enough to drop quite a bit of rain, which is the other threat that we're going to see evolve, especially as the storms continue this evening. Even once they go below severe limits, they're still dropping quite a bit of rain, which is going to be a continuing concern, because we have 2 to 3, maybe even some spots, Matt, getting more than 3 inches out of this just from tonight's storms alone, and we've got more on the way this week as well. Yeah, absolutely. Here, I can show you, let's see here. Are you in Max? You can put up, oh, there it is. Okay, I'll show you the rainfall here. That's been the other concern. Luckily, it looks like a lot of the rotation as of now, as of this moment in time, has weakened a little bit. So that's the good news. Still several reports of hail with all of this that continues to come through. So keep that in mind. That's a big concern. The hail, the microburst, so that's the straight line wind, and obviously the potential for any tornado. So I want to zoom out a little bit here. This is rainfall over the past 3 hours. Actually, you can do it, Ed. Yeah, so if we can actually, yeah, so right here, can we actually switch to the other computer? Is that possible? Because what we're seeing is, okay. All right, right where we have the green, that's where we have 2 to 3 inches or more of radar estimated rainfall, and a lot of that falling within a very short amount of time. That's why this is obviously very concerning, because flash flooding becomes an issue with rain that heavy. And we're still seeing more storms continuing to fire just west of the area. Hey, while you're over there, do you mind looking at any reports and see what you've got over that way? I'm going to go in the front of the chroma key, so I don't know if I'm on Ed settings. Oh, you've got everything good. All right, so let's take a look. I'll give you an overall recap as to what's going on. The only tornado warning we have in the area right now is southern parts of St. Joseph County and northern parts of Marshall County. I'll pop that up there so you can see. It's a red box. Walkerton, North Liberty over towards La Paz. It's this cell right here that continues to push to the south. We'll see what our colleagues at the National Weather Service do. They may extend this south towards Plymouth. At this point, there is still rotation. There's also a lot of wind with that, no doubt, as it pushes to the east. But I would say, honestly, North Liberty over towards the western part of Lakeville there, this area isn't of concern. It's right here at the southern part of this box. We see a little bit of green. You see the red, and it's kind of moving to the east, and a little bit of a south component there over the last couple of runs. Yeah, it definitely looks like it is starting to weaken. Actually, yeah, just within the past 5 minutes alone, that's starting to improve, but still enough where it's a concern, and we're going to remain on the air as long as these storms are continuing to pose a threat. And if it holds its current location, this would move towards, my computer's in the way here, this would move towards the city of Plymouth, right that way. So Plymouth, I would say, be in your safe spot just in case. This is definitely still rotating. It does look a little weaker, but there are certainly some gusty winds with it. There's going to be some hail as well. Lots of lightning, thunder, and rainfall with that storm as well. I'll move over to this side, and you can see it a little bit better. Moving right towards Plymouth there along US 30. And Matt, I'll switch it over. Do you want to switch it back over to reflectivity, kind of show where we're seeing? And then look and see if you have any reports on our Facebook pages or anything like that. We appreciate all the reports, by the way. They help us warn our friends ahead of the storm as to what's actually happening. Obviously, concerned with any tornado warnings, the rotation you just saw. Severe thunderstorm warnings, most of those are being warned because of hail and also brief gusty winds. And the other concern, which doesn't get the attention it should during severe weather, is the massive amounts of rain. We've seen a lot over the past couple of days. The ground saturated, it can't drink anymore, it's got to get rid of it, and it does that by putting it in streams, creeks, and rivers, and they can rise really quickly. If you have a poor drainage area, you can get several inches of water that can quickly get a current and can sweep your vehicle
really quickly. So please don't drive through flooded areas. This particular setup is notorious for creating flash flooding.
Yeah, yep, it is. And we're still looking at that severe thunderstorm warning continuing for Elkhart County, extending into LaGrange. That is set to expire at 7:30, but easily could be extended into St. Joe County, Indiana.
And anytime you see the pink here, I've got a radar set up. Basically, if you see bright pink, it means hail. That's what we want you to take away from this. So, you know, right around Bristol, just south on 15, there's the bypass US 20, pushing over towards the east. So Middlebury, Shipshewana, potentially over towards LaGrange in the next little while here. But Middlebury, Shipshewana, you were next in line for probably some hail, certainly heavy rain, lightning, and thunder. But luckily, I can look real quick here before I say it. Yeah, luckily the rotation is slim to none. So that's the good news. Tornado threat here is not real. Well,
Sure.
we're not concerned with it at the moment.
We
Put it
still,
that way.
yep, and we're still looking at that tornado warning for LaPorte County, Marshall, St. Joe, and Stark. So this is very northern Stark County, including Coons Lake. We're going to put it back into velocity mode here if I can get that put up. But yeah, where we have a lot of lightning, that's a sign that we have some very, very
Yeah, if you want to go to the very
intense
bottom,
hail.
Ed, the
Yeah.
very last
Okay,
scene, I've got all the radar stuff.
Gotcha. Okay, there it is. So here we go. We're going to zoom back to the southwest. I believe this is starting off in Elkhart, where we have the severe thunderstorm warning. And right there, not really seeing much in the way of...
Nope, that looks better, but
Yep.
see the bright reds? So it's starting to do that microburst thing. It's raining real heavy. It brings that air down from the sky down to the ground. Get some real gusty winds heading right towards between La Paz and Plymouth there. And also, I know it's hard to see because this 23 is in the way. There's a little bit of wind. So this wind here is blowing that way. This one's blowing the other way. So there's still circulation here that we need to keep an eye on. As a matter of fact, I think, did the warning get pushed south? Did you see that?
Actually,
I can't tell if it did or not.
Yeah,
but
it may have, but yeah, just south of 6. The Tyner area, Coons Lake, definitely needs to
so it's
take
still
this
rotating
seriously.
here, but on the backside, see how it's getting gray or green right there near Walkerton. So the winds are starting to go like this. The winds here are going like that. So it's still circulating. It's just pretty weak at this point, but notice there's not much distance here. So if it strengthens, that's an area for concern. That's why our friends at the Weather Service there pushed that warning down south a little bit to include parts of Marshall County near Tyner and just south of La Paz. So basically the 31 corridor and west at this point is where we're focused on right
Sure.
now.
So that's the tornado warning that we have, and we also have a severe thunderstorm warning, which continues for Elkhart, southern Cass, St. Joe County, Michigan, and in northwest LaGrange. Also to the west, another storm will be tracking. I'm going to switch modes again here. And
Hey, Ed, real quick, can we
Yep.
go Walkerton, Coons Lake area back to velocity?
Yep. Okay.
Real quick. So this is actually south of the, so there's Coons Lake, right? We'll have to watch it. Oops.
I'll
I think
pause it for you.
Okay, thank you.
Actually, let me go back. There we go.
Okay, so let me get my bearings here. So Walkerton's right there. Coons Lake is here. Can you go south right underneath our logo? It's not showing up just yet, but there is just west of Coons Lake. It'll pop up in the next minute or so. There is some winds here that are blowing towards the radar site, so we'll watch that as well. Because again, these things can quickly spin up if there is one.
Yeah,
so
they
give a
pulse.
little bit, but they may extend the warning a little farther south if that actually holds together.
Sure.
So something we'll watch here.
And the other, and I know this is again off to the west, but usually the storms that are west of us most likely once again move through our viewing area at some point or another. So I'm going to switch it back to velocity mode, but another real strong storm here moving into Lake and Porter County. So unfortunately for LaPorte, going to have to watch this storm down the road. I'm only saying that now because LaPorte County has seen a ton of rain with multiple thunderstorms that they've already gotten. We have the flash flood warning, which continues for LaPorte, Southern Berrien until 9:30, I believe. And that could be extended, especially if we have another strong thunderstorm, which you see there moving into Lake County, Indiana, with all the purple, possibly some hail. So that's a newly issued severe thunderstorm warning for Lake and Porter, which could affect LaPorte down the road as well.
Can we go down to Pulaski County and
Sure.
over towards Fulton County? Another storm we're watching again. There's no warnings out there at the moment, but we're trying
Okay.
to be proactive here. Keep an eye on everyone across northern Indiana, southwestern lower Michigan.
Yeah.
And then do you mind throwing on velocity data here?
Yeah,
There's
so
one-
that's down towards Pulaski County.
Yep, Pulaski
Okay.
County, there's Fulton County, so right around Kewanna, just to the west. Once you get there, see what it shows. Yeah, there is some decent rotation
Yep.
with this as well. We'll have to watch this. It's pulsing up pretty quick. If it looks like this in the next 5 minutes, I would suspect the Weather Service warns this storm too, just for the potential for some rotation. But see the greens and blues here? That's wind going this way. The reds are going the opposite way, and that looks pretty good, I think.
And remember, this is an area of the viewing area that the atmosphere hasn't been worked over. So
Right.
there's a lot of energy that this thunderstorm is running into, which is why we're concerned that this thing could spin up something. There is no tornado warning issued with this yet, but we're talking about it because it's concerning to us because it is really starting to show some of that rotation. So Kewanna up towards Rochester, Green Oak along 14, and Pulaski and Fulton County needs to take this one pretty seriously. Even though there's no warning issued yet, it is one that is concerning.
Let me make sure, yeah, we've got the warnings on. Okay, I want to make sure we've got them updated in case.
And I'll
it
check
comes
to see if
in.
there's any chatter about that potentially being warned. But warned or not, it's still obviously a concerned storm because we're seeing some red on green right on top of each other, indicating that this storm is definitely rotating. So let me load chat here. It's still looking at, yeah, so no new warnings, no reports. No new reports that I'm seeing yet, but we're getting a lot of viewer photos. And after the threat has passed, and it's safe to look, you know, around your property, that's when we recommend taking pictures and sending them in to us so we can get a kind of idea what you all went through. Because radar can only, Matt, tell us so much.
Right, radar looks up in the sky. That's why we value your opinions. So we keep an eye on this. This looks concerning. I don't know if this is a quick downburst, but there are winds going different directions in a very short distance. So
yeah,
something worth keeping an, you know, they may warn that. We'll see what happens. If you're in Kewanna or basically northern part of Fulton County, I would at least get to your safe spot away from windows. That's at very minimum gusty winds, but they're blowing in different directions too. So we'll watch that go to the east, and it's somewhat close to the radar site, so there's a pretty good view of it.
And Matt, we'll switch it back to velocity. See, it kind of has that southwestern little subtle hook there on the southwestern side, so we're definitely seeing something towards that area just to the southwest of Kewanna. Again, this is right along the Pulaski-Fulton County border.
Yeah, so something we'll watch for sure, but there's definitely some rotation there, so we'll keep an eye on that over the next couple of minutes. I wouldn't be surprised if a tornado warning gets issued for Fulton County, but at the very least, let's make sure you're in your safe spot, you know, away from windows. There is definitely wind with that. Probably going to be some decent hail as well. This is we can use this as debris tracker. I don't want to say this is debris because I don't think it is, but this particular storm is pretty intense as it moves into parts of Fulton County. So something,
yeah,
you know,
I mean, so you know, we're seeing rotation with this. We're seeing that southwestern sort of hook to the storm, and this where you see the blue, that's oftentimes non-precipitation stuff that's in the atmosphere, which can be an indication that we're seeing stuff being picked up by the wind. So we're seeing all of this evidence coincide, which is why we're concerned that there may be a strong rotation with this or a developing tornado. No warning issued yet, but something we're going to continue to watch. We're going to take it back to velocity mode and show you right down. Yeah, still looking at a pretty interesting signature there, moving right over the Kewanna area. And this, again, this is an area where we haven't really seen much in the way of thunderstorms today. So it's moving into
blow up pretty quickly.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. So we'll keep an eye on that. Let's do the little tour across the viewing area since we're on with a couple tornado warnings. That way we can get the recap.
And Matt,
are they all expired?
Yeah, it looks like we have a severe thunderstorm warning for Elkhart, St. Joe County, Michigan, Cass County into LaGrange. Not any warnings yet for Marshall and Stark or Marshall and Fulton, but obviously look at those storms and just how they blow up there within the past few minutes. I mean, you can go from a small puffy cloud to a giant thunderstorm within 20 to 30 minutes. That's the kind of atmosphere that we have today, and you can see just explosive development with those storms over the southern part of the viewing area. So keeping an eye on that cell, moving it from Winnemac towards Rochester, also one over southern portions of Marshall County, and then the one over towards Elkhart, still a severe thunderstorm warning for you until 7:30. That extends into LaGrange County. Looks like the hail core here, just to the west of Middlebury. Bristol, definitely probably getting some hail from that. Looks like that hail core is trying to organize once again. These storms, as Matt was saying, they pulse up, they strengthen, and then they weaken, and then they strengthen again, and then they weaken. And that's going to be the continuing trend for the next couple of hours as this threat evolves.
Yeah, otherwise, yeah, the flash flood warning, and then we've got this severe thunderstorm warning with the hail threat, like you mentioned. These bright pinks are pretty nasty. So just west of Middlebury, between Bristol and Middlebury, eventually pushing over towards Shipshewana, and right around the 131 exit on the toll road, just south of there. Nasty hail core heading towards eastern parts of Elkhart County and far northwestern parts, eventually, of LaGrange County in northern Indiana. Some of this, by the way, it may clip areas just north of the state line. So if you live, you know, just north here in a pretty rural area, but nonetheless, this part of southwest Michigan and Cass and St. Joseph County in southwest Michigan, Certainly some heavy rain, but probably some hail for you as well.
Okay. We are getting some thunderstorm wind damage reports, 3 to 4 inch diameter branches down in St. Joseph County, I believe on the north side of town. So that's obviously, you know, can be caused by 50, 60 mile an hour winds. That's a report that I'm just getting in here right now. But it looks like the only storms of concern, of real concern, are over the southern portion of the viewing area. This one in Elkhart moving into LaGrange County, but also over the southern portion of the viewing area south of 30. So we're looking at, you know, Plymouth south towards Argus, Rochester area. We'll put a velocity back up on this and see what we can kind of grab here in terms of rotation. So we're going further south, still looking at some rotation south of 14. So this is now, it looks to be just on top of Kewanna. Also portions of central Fulton County moving over towards the Rochester area. So let me get on the screen here and show you exactly what we're looking at. Now, I know for many of you who are watching, you may have heard us say the same thing over and over again, but remember, in these types of situations, especially with extended severe weather coverage, new viewers are tuning in all the time, which means the information that you may have heard 5 times, a new viewer is now hearing for the first time. So this is what we're looking at in the Kewanna area, western portions of Fulton County, what looks to be some pretty solid rotation. This is a storm that we're continuing to track, not yet tornado warned, but obviously enough that we're concerned. We're talking about it moving over towards the Rochester area, right along 14. So if you live in the Rochester area, I would recommend getting to your safe place, simply because of the way this storm looks to us. Also over towards the Akron area down the road. This is central Fulton County, and you can see where we have the red and the green, that really tight looking circulation there popping up. That's where we're seeing some of the rotation, which honestly, that's one of the stronger areas of rotation I've seen so far today. So we're going to continue to monitor that storm. We're going to take it back to reflectivity here and show you where we have some pretty intense hail cores up towards eastern Elkhart County, quarter size, $half size hail impacting the Middlebury area. Again, this is probably going to go over into LaGrange County with time, and I wouldn't be surprised to see that severe thunderstorm warning extended further east as we go through the evening, so beyond 7:30. So we have that flash flood warning, which continues for northern LaPorte, St. Joe County. I'll kind of map it out here for you. And remember, the rain is lightening up here in northern LaPorte County, but we've just gotten a ton of rain falling over LaPorte County that has already gotten several thunderstorms today. Wouldn't be surprised to see 3-inch plus amounts in this area. It's all fallen within a quick amount of time, and you see that rapid rise in rivers and streams. That's where the flash flooding issue comes into place. This is until 9:30, and we do have another strong thunderstorm that's west over Lake and Porter County. I'm going to zoom out the radar here and show you exactly where that is. And that is a severe thunderstorm warning for Lake and Porter. So this storm right over Gary, once again moving into LaPorte County. Hopefully, we're hoping that this weakens, because the atmosphere is pretty worked across LaPorte. That's where we've seen multiple rounds of storms today. So the atmosphere only has so much energy, and when you have storms moving over the same area repeatedly, eventually that causes the storms to collapse, but we're not seeing that yet.
Can we go back to Fulton County? I know there's not a warning down there, but that is a nasty signature on velocity data. So we go back to the storm winds. And by the way, I know a lot of you, probably 90% of you, aren't impacted by some of these at this moment. Yeah. And it's obviously Wheel of Fortune Jeopardy time. I get it. But when we see something like this on velocity, this is nasty. This is winds blowing that way. The blue is right towards it in a very short distance. There is a lot of rotation here. I'm surprised there's not a tornado warning. So my friends in Fulton County, let's pretend there is.
Yep.
Let's pretend there is a tornado warning. See, it looks a little better there, but that's still some nasty rotation. So let's keep an eye on it. I'd at least get to your safe spot, Rochester, down towards the town of Fulton, along 25 there, just in case. It pulses up and down. But that last scan there, that was some of the tightest I've seen all day.
Matt and I really want to reiterate here that there is no tornado warning with this storm yet, but it's concerning enough to us where we are telling you, pretend and act like this is a tornado warning that's in place, because that's a pretty strong signature there of rotation. Again, the worst of it looks to be just to the south of 14, moving towards the Green Oak, Rochester area, over towards Athens and Akron down the road. And you see, we got the bright reds, we've got the bright greens next to each other, and where you see that the colors adjacent to each other, it's pretty tight and compact. So that's an indication that we're seeing some pretty strong rotation in that general area. And again, this is a part of the viewing area where the atmosphere still has a lot of energy. The sun is still shining immediately east of these storms, so they're running into a very favorable environment. They're also closer to the warm front, which has more shear too. So that would be a reason why we could see some more rotation with these southern
so
end
quick
storms
storm
as well.
track here, Rochester over towards Athens and maybe Akron can hold together. Again, it pulses up and down, so we'll keep an eye on that. Otherwise, I'll zoom out to the viewing area again and get one more picture here. That way you can see what's going on. So there's the one storm. We can go back to reflectivity if you want, Ed.
Okay. You want me to pause it or keep it looping?
Whatever. It
Okay.
doesn't matter. But there are no tornado warnings at this point. And I'll tell you what, assuming we don't have any tornado warnings by 7:30, we'll toss it back to programming because I know it's Jeopardy. However, if we see anything that alerts us, or there is one, we're going to pop back on. That's why we're here. So keep that in mind. I'm trying to be patient or help you in your patience. Since we don't have tornado warnings at 7:30 for our friends in production and master control, we'll go back to CBS and Fox programming. But if this tightens up or there's a warning that's issued, we got to come back on because we have viewers in Fulton County, we have viewers in southern Kosciuszko County, and that's what we do. So we're at least trying to get you back to programming, but that's still some nasty circulation. Otherwise, if you want to go back to reflectivity, Ed, we'll just give a quick summary here over the next 5 minutes as to what's going on. A lot of rain, a lot of lightning, a flooding concern as well. And at this point, and let me know if you don't agree, it's this batch down in our southern counties which we need to watch because this area hasn't seen much today. A lot of gasoline or fuel down here still to be used. Up here, we've used all of our fuel most of the day.
Yeah, I mean, look at how explosive those storms over south of 30 into Fulton and Pulaski County. And that storm that's moving into Gary, the reason I'm concerned about this is because this heavy rain producing storm is going to be moving into LaPorte, which has already been hit very hard. This is severe. It looks like it's starting to collapse, Matt, doesn't it look like a little bit?
Yeah, certainly.
And one concern as storms collapse, we can see some very strong winds spread out from the surface as these storms start to weaken. So that's another threat that will evolve with this particular storm as it continues to move east. But the only warnings we have in place are over towards Elkhart into LaGrange, where that yellow box is, moving east into LaGrange County. And then the storm we are concerned with down towards the Rochester area. Matt, it has that southwestern little kind of appendage to it. And when we switch it back to reflectivity and we go further down, it looks like it's becoming a little bit more broad. But it'll be interesting to see if we have any reports of any sort of damage in that area.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so yeah, this is the storm we'll watch. It pushing to the east, so Rochester heads up north of Fulton. Keep that in mind as well. So that's basically the State Road 14 corridor there in our southern counties. Even if there's not a tornado, there's probably not. There's certainly rotation, but that's nasty gusty winds, 50, 60 miles an hour. With the rain we've seen, that will knock down trees and power lines. I know there's some power outages already being reported. We've had hail the size of quarters up to flirting with $50 in some locations. And once we get off the air here, I'll put all these pictures and reports together, and we'll have the latest for you tonight at 10 and 11.
And notice, Matt, also where we have a lot of the storms moving through, we've got a lot of bright reds moving across Kosciuszko, Elkhart County. Not any rotation seen with these, but the concern is straight line winds. So we'll put the reflectivity on here, and there you see the storms moving through Marshall County, much of Fulton, up into southern Elkhart, or southern St. Joe, and much of Elkhart. And we put it back into velocity mode. You notice the bright reds. That's an indication of some strong straight line winds, which again can be worse than a weak tornado.
Yeah, and they impact a much larger area than a weak tornado would. So something we'll watch here. If you want to put it back in reflectivity, we'll do one more scan around the viewing area. In about 90 seconds or so, I'll send you over to Jeopardy. Again, if there's a tornado warning or we see a lot of rotation, we're going to pop back in. I may do an update or two during the commercial breaks. Doing my best to get you to programming, but safety is number one, and our friends down in our southern counties watch us as well. So we'll keep you updated. Lots of rain. Elkhart, LaGrange, Marshall, Fulton County. That purple color is hail. There's a severe thunderstorm warning down in Miami County, and also more developing in northwest Indiana, pushing our way as well. And as Ed mentioned earlier, this area down here hasn't seen much rain. There's a lot of instability left, and all you need is that rising motion to quickly twist the winds, and you can get a quick tornado out of these. That's the threat this evening, is the atmosphere is very volatile and could quickly produce a tornado, and that's what our concern is, because the time we see it on radar, is 2-3 minutes delayed, and there could be something on the ground. So that's why
Yeah.
we're trying to take this a little more serious than other storm systems that come through.
And the good news with this is you can see the back edge of the storms. That last storm in Gary, west of there, we expect once everything is east of you, the threat should continue to subside this evening. But it does look like that storm over Gary is starting to collapse as it moves into the very worked atmosphere of LaPorte County, and just issued is a severe thunderstorm warning for Fulton County into southern portions of Kosciuszko. No surprise we're seeing this storm. Again, this is the concerning storm that Matt and I have been talking about for the past 15 minutes.
It's going to have hail with it. There is some rotation, so we're going to keep an eye on it. Tell you what, we will send you back to Fox and CBS programming, so those of you waiting for Jeopardy, if this thing starts rotating, we're going to pop back in. Otherwise, we may give you updates during commercial breaks. We're going to stay active on our First Alert Weather app, Facebook, Twitter, WSBT.com, for those of you in the line of that. But until then, again, we'll send you back to CBS and Fox programming. Okay.
Awesome. Yeah, it's
Oh, I better take off my thing.
a great way to be proactive.
She's going to be fronting video. Okay. What were you saying?
I forget.
Okay. Yeah, that live shot you
go to Culver's. Does anybody want anything?
I'm good, thank you.
Got California plates here. We don't know whose car that is, but whoever it is, they're dead. Where? Someone has a California plate parked right now. Whose fucking car is this? Right outside my goddamn door.
Oh shit, yeah, that's kind of great. Where's this at? Have you done that?
Yeah. Man, look at that hook.
Yeah.
Look at that hook on.
Hey Jeff, right after this final Jeopardy, let's go back on. Okay? We'll go out there. You want to come with?
Yeah.
Two of them. I've got it pre-programmed in there. We'll talk back and forth. I forget what's on it at 8. CSI, something like that.
Hold on.
Yeah, so at the very end, so once Jeopardy's done, as soon as, where are we at here? So once we see the winner, we'll go right in.
Oh,
So
man.
like 2 or 3 minutes here at most.
That might be what we send a reporter to tomorrow.
Uh-huh.
So what computer are we using? Max 1?
Yeah, we'll do 1.
Okay.
And I've got it pretty much programmed in there, but then we can do tracks and all that.
Okay. Let me make sure this is saved before I move off the map.
Let's do both. And then, okay, so like, let me wait till this final Jeopardy's over, since this is technically Miami County. Well, he's gonna win. What's the?
Is this Miami and Wabash?
Yes. Mic check, 1, 2, 3, 4. This is Matt. Mic 1. Mic check. Mic check. Mic check.
Mic, yep. Mic check, 1, 2, 3, testing, 1, 2, 3.
I am good to go on.
Whenever.
Wait, the National Weather Service is saying, large and extremely dangerous tornado
Yeah.
near Rochester moving. Okay.
Okay, I'm ready whenever you guys are. Count from 5, 4, 3. Hey everybody, Matt Rudkin here in the WSBT Forecast Center. We've been watching this storm. This is definitely a tornado on the ground. It is probably a strong one just south of Akron, Indiana, right near the Miami and Fulton County line. This is a nasty, nasty signature on velocity data. This green is winds going this way, this red's going the other way. This has to be a tornado on the ground. Something like this doesn't happen up in the clouds. So we want you to take this very seriously. And oftentimes, Ed Russo is here, by the way, meteorologist Ed Russo. Oftentimes, when these get real strong, they do what's called, they hook to the right, which would mean a due east, maybe a north track. So if you live in Akron, especially the south side, you have got to be in your safe spot. The lowest level of your home, you have to be away from windows. Interior room. If you live in a mobile home, you got to get out, especially this. If you live east of here, so there's State Road 19, there's the city of Akron. Downtown Akron should be okay, but just to the south, I'm talking a mile or two, this tornado is certainly on the ground. It is probably a strong one. And Ed Russo, what do you think? I would say at least 100 mile an hour winds
just
with this.
as we put this into motion here, as it comes out of as it comes out of Fulton County just to the east of Green Oak, you can see how it really tightens up there. We get that really bright blue, that really bright red adjacent to each other. We have not seen that yet today. This is by far the strongest tornado signature that we have seen on radar, and I'm willing to bet that that is a large, potentially very dangerous tornado on the ground
There's
moving
no
east.
doubt. There's Rochester. There's 31, so just to the east. Again, State Road 19 and 31 between the two. If you want pre-programmed in there, I have the correlation coefficient.
Yeah.
Basically what that is a debris signature.
And we
So,
got it.
yep,
We got it just west of 19.
that is debris. So the radar doesn't think it's rain or snow or ice. It can't figure out what it is. That is dirt and probably trees getting sucked up in the atmosphere, and the radar sees it. So this confirms it. There is no doubt there's a tornado on the ground just south of Akron. That's probably a strong tornado. We see signatures somewhat like this, in the plains. So this is probably a fairly strong tornado pushing over to the east. And I would suspect, because this area hasn't seen rain today, it's probably going to stay on the ground for a little while.
Yeah, and this is a storm that we've been tracking all the way through Fulton County that we were concerned with near Kewanna about an hour ago, and now we're really starting to see this storm intensify. And even we call that a debris ball on this correlation coefficient, right where you see, Matt, if you can point to it. That is where we're seeing stuff that's not precipitation being detected on radar, which would indicate that that is dirt, that is large pieces of debris being lofted into the air. That evidence combined with this very strong rotation that we're seeing. It looks like the latest scan, it's weakened a little bit, but again, these storms go through life cycles, so they weaken, they strengthen. This definitely looks to be, this is as close to radar confirmation for a tornado as you can get.
Yep, and luckily, it's pretty rural down here, just south of Akron. There's a lot of farm fields, but I know if you live in one of the farms, this is a big deal to you, and this is pushing over to the east. Again, there's State Road 15, that is State Road 19, so between the two is where the tornado could be, just south of Akron. There's Rochester to give you a perspective, and then pushing over this way, if this can hold together, it's a ways away, but that would be North Manchester down that way, just to the east of the screen. So again, pretty rural down here, but there are still homes and people that live down here, and this is at least over the past 5 minutes, a probably violent tornado that just is going towards State Road 19. Just to the west. So north of Macy's where it developed, it's pushing over to the east, just south of Akron.
Yeah.
Anything you want to add?
Yeah, and again, as these when you get really strong, violent tornadoes, they can kind of take on a life of their own, and it can even rapidly change direction as they strengthen. So anywhere in that warning box, interior room, lowest floor of your home immediately as we continue to track this. It looks like it's, Matt, that's State Road 19 that it's going to be crossing soon,
So,
the rotation?
that's the State Road 19. Yep, just south. It's probably about 10, 15 miles south of Mentone, but down towards Akron, and then once you get farther south, you run into Peru.
Yeah, that looks to be right on the county line, so just south of Akron, right along 19.
Yep, so here's Miami County, that's Fulton County, right on the county line is where this probably is. And where you saw the reds and blues, there's no doubt that was a tornado. And see how, so we'll use the county line as justification. See how it's moving to the right? It's moving back to the north. That is also, in meteorology, a pretty good confirmation that there's a tornado with this as it pushes up to the north. So it's going to ride right along that county line, and where the National Weather Service has the tornado warning, probably the northern fringe of that. So honestly, Silver Lake down to State Road 15 by that county line there, just to be safe, I would be in your safe spot. Silver Lake itself should be okay, but the south part of town, right when you get to the Wabash County line there, you're really pushing it. You're getting real close to the potential tornado in about 5 minutes.
Yeah, and definitely the area I'm most concerned about, obviously 19 and south of Akron. Also north of 114, right along and north of 114 up towards 15 as you get closer to the Kosciuszko County line. Interior room, lowest floor now, because this is likely a confirmed tornado on the ground. Even south of 114, you got to take this seriously, because the rotation is passing nearby, and we've got a real tight, compact tornado signature there on radar. Probably the best one, definitely by far, that we've seen so far this evening.
Well, earlier, we'll see about now. Hopefully not. I hope it's gone back in the cloud. There is no doubt right there that was a tornado on the ground. No doubt. Here, we'll see. It's still rotating at a pretty short distance. That's a pretty tight couplet. So I would at least suspect there's a tornado moving almost right across State Road 19 at this point. So our friends in State Road 15 land need to be in your safe spot. There's 114, right? And there's 15. So that would be Wabash County. So just south of Kosciuszko County. pushing along the county border there is where that particular storm is at right now.
Yeah, and we'll take you back, actually show you the correlation coefficient, which kind of gives us an idea on what might be lofted into the air, where you see the pink and whatnot. What we're really looking at here is south of Akron. That is indicating that we are seeing stuff lofted into the air that's not rain or hail, that's actually debris, dirt being kicked up. So we do see a debris ball signature here, coinciding with the fact that we also have strong rotation in that exact location too. So pretty powerful evidence that we do have a tornado on the ground.
Can you zoom out just a little bit?
Yeah.
You can go back to reflectivity if you want.
Okay.
Again, let's assume this holds together. Could it? Sure. Will it? Probably not, but let's assume it does, all right? I want to zoom out a little bit here and give you perspective. So there's Akron, there's Claypool, Silver Lake. North Manchester is, it's about right here. South Whitley's here. And I know North Manchester is a big deal. There's the school there, and I have several of you who watch and send me storm reports all the time from North Manchester. If this holds together, it's going to be close to town. So if you live there, we're talking 20 minutes, but it's a good time to prepare just in case. You know, get the kids together, make a little game of it, get pillows and blankets and stuff like that. Go to the basement, go to an interior room if you don't have one, or a bathroom. That's the place to go. But this is still a real nasty storm. Has a tornado warning with it until I believe 8:15.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's a nasty one on the far southern part of our viewing area there. And again, I know a lot of you from Akron watch us, Silver Lake, you as well. Just the south of you, there is a storm that at least 10 minutes ago, no doubt had a tornado on the ground. Now is certainly rotating. The couplets weakened just a little bit.
And it looks like now the tornado has been cut a little bit, just including the county of Wabash. It looks like the rotation is now, it looks like it's actually picking back up a little bit.
I would agree with that,
But
too.
you see where the polygon red area ends. I think, you know, still further west than that, over towards 19, still need to be in your safe place, absolutely, as that continues to move overhead.
Did they cut the warning?
It
That's
looks like they
odd.
cut the warning, but the rotation is still being seen along 19. So anywhere along 19 eastward, even west of there, should still be in their safe place until the threat is passed. But yeah, this is definitely moving, approaching 114 in Wabash County. And if you're north of there, again, stronger tornadoes tend to take that right turn, so it would potentially turn more to the north, closer to the Kosciuszko County line. This is one that you really have to take seriously, and even up towards the Kosciuszko County line, I would recommend certainly getting to your safe place immediately. And you can see that rotation still looking pretty strong there.
Okay, if you want to zoom out, we'll
Yep.
give a quick summary. We'll take one more look at this when we're done. I'll toss you back to programming, but I just wanted to get you up to date on that one because we saw that in the weather office. It is nasty, and when you see something like that, there is very little doubt that there's a strong tornado on the ground. The heaviest is south of us. That's because they haven't seen much rain. We are dealing with more rain. It is not good. Obviously, farmers have big problems this spring. This will aggravate that. Also, this is probably going on 3+ inches of rain now, so flash flooding is a serious concern around the region. So please keep that in mind if you're going to be traveling this evening. But there's a couple warnings. They're mainly in our southern counties, right? Down towards Warsaw, Rochester areas. That's where the severe thunderstorm warning's at. Up here, just regular thunderstorms at this point. The severe weather threat is diminishing pretty quickly in our northern counties. But if you want to go back south, Ed, we'll summarize that real quick. And then again, down that way, not the case, where there's quite a bit of thunderstorms. We've got that one tornado warning in Fulton County, also Wabash County, and there it is. So there's Kosciuszko County, there's Silver Lake, right? So there is Akron. You make your way down towards basically south of Silver Lake there once you get close to 15. Still some really tight rotation. If there's not a tornado, there could be at any moment. There certainly was all but 10 minutes ago as that push to the east.
Yeah, again,
Anything
this
you want
is,
to add?
Yep, this is again for Miami, Wabash counties. Looks like the rotation is in the very eastern portion. It looks like they have reissued another warning for the same area, but that covers the rotation near Akron in Fulton County, and that's continuing to move to the east end. And you know, we're saying it's moving to the east, but with time that could curve a little bit further north, closer to the Kosciuszko County line. So that's something to be concerned with.
So like Silver Lake, for example.
Yeah,
we want you to be in your safe spot. Although you're south or north of the warning, the warning south of you, like Ed said, these things can sometimes cut right or north and go right along the border.
And that warning has actually now includes southern portions of Kosciuszko County.
Does it? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes so just south of Sydney there, barely.
Yep, because it's starting to make that right turn
Yeah.
that we were alluding to.
And honestly, with all due respect, I would kind of just ignore the warnings at the point. Watch these things, and again, as it moves to the north, that's the area you don't want to be in. So south of Silver Lake, and I know there's a lot of farm towns down there, or farm communities. However, just south of Silver Lake, if you're one of them, you're going to want to be in your safe spot as this pushes to the east. This is a nasty, nasty couplet, and you can see a new warning issued because of it.
And I
within a
believe
warning.
we'll put a little query on it here and see exactly when it goes till. So this is for Fulton, Kosciuszko, Miami, and Wabash County. That's at least going until it looks like 8:30 this evening. I'll take that warning off. And again, it's this newly issued red box here. That's including southern portions of Kosciuszko County, just south of Silver Lake. So along 15 between 114 and 14. 14 goes through Silver Lake. 114 is south of there into Wabash County. That's kind of ground zero for this rotation that we're currently tracking.
Yep. And real quick, do you want to put on the debris signature again?
Yeah,
We'll look at that
yeah.
one more time.
Yep.
And from reflectivity, I've got the radar on my computer here. I mean, we call them hooks, and it's just like it sounds. It hooks. And the fact you're seeing it on correlation coefficient.
Yeah, look at that. Look at
confirms
that.
there's quite a bit of non-precipitation material being lofted into the sky here. So just south and east of Akron. I mean, this is nasty. Just south of Silver Lake, I think it's fair to say there's a tornado on the ground.
Yeah, and you can actually see the signature near Silver Lake area. That could be inflow into the actual tornado dust that's being wrapped into the circulation. That's what appears to be definitely on the ground into I'd say extreme eastern Fulton County, east of Akron.
And again, south of Silver Lake, and I want to keep reiterating this for friends and family who have friends and family in North Manchester. This is heading right towards North Manchester along State Road 13 there. So if you have friends there, maybe give them a brief phone call. There's probably 10 minutes till this gets to town, but this is heading right towards that city. And that's probably the most populated community within this warning. At least you've got some time here. But just south of Silver Lake in Kosciuszko County, between Akron and Silver Lake, this is a nasty storm that certainly has the potential for a tornado. If not, there may be one on the ground. At least the last few scans looks like it's weakening a little bit. Doesn't mean it's lifted. However, that looks a little bit better than 10 minutes ago when we cut back
But it
in.
really has taken that right turn over the past, I'd say, 10 minutes or so.
Yep.
So this continues for Kosciuszko County, Wabash, Miami until 8:30 this evening. South of Silver Lake, especially along 15, is the area we're most concerned about. Also, anywhere really between Indiana State Route 14 and Indiana State 114 is where this rotation is moving through. And definitely this storm has had a history of producing tornadoes. We've pretty much gotten radar confirmation that this thing
earlier there was no doubt.
was
10
on
minutes
the
ago.
ground.
Looks a little better now. That's the good news. We're going to wait one, maybe two more scans. If it continues to look good, I'll get you back to programming. And again, we will keep an eye on it. When we need to pop in, we'll pop in like we did. But 10 minutes ago with that debris signature, no doubt we had a tornado on the ground just south of Akron, Indiana, pushing over towards the east. Pushing towards 15. And again, this looks a whole lot better. And Ed, you can pick your brain. That looks a whole lot better than it did 10 minutes ago.
And I
So
will
that's
say
good news.
there was, I'm looking at the chat here, and they are labeling this tornado as opposed to being radar indicated, they are labeling it as observed.
Yeah, so that means people. So I mean, there was no doubt 10 minutes ago.
Right. So we're getting confirmation even from the National Weather Service that this thing was on the ground. It was large and still is, but potentially extremely dangerous as it moves east.
And when you get a large tornado, I mean, this could have been similar to what the planes get once in a while. Luckily, it doesn't look as strong now. But when we call them, they hook. They go to the right movers, so north. When you see that happening on radar, so it was going east. Right now, I've got a north component. Real good textbook classic example of a strong storm that probably had a tornado with it or potentially has. At least the next scan, we'll wait one more here until this comes through. That's looking quite a bit better than 10 minutes ago.
And so while we're waiting for that next scan to come in, we'll just zoom out here and give you one kind of general look of the viewing area. And we're looking at, again, just some very heavy rain producing thunderstorms north of 30. None of these have warnings associated with them. We do have the flash flood warning, which continues for southern Berrien, LaPorte, unfortunately getting more heavy rain in areas that have already seen it, and much of St. Joe County, where that flash flood warning continues through 9:30. Might even be extended beyond that with additional rainfall that is falling. But again, the severe thunderstorm warning for Fulton, southern Kosciuszko continues, and the very southern end of Kosciuszko County into Wabash and Miami, we are looking at the at the tornado warning continuing, and there it is, still solid rotation there. It
and
looks like it's
moving
pulsing
north
up.
again. Yeah.
Yep, it looks
So,
like it's trying
again,
to.
Silver Lake, you got to be in your safe spot.
Yep.
That is definitely pulsing up. And see how it's moving to the north? It's not good. When you see that, that is a good indication of something on the ground and potentially fairly decent sized at
Yeah.
that.
So that's about soon, probably in the next 10 minutes or so, going to be crossing 15. And the latest scan, Matt, to me, it looks like it's trying to get more organized once again.
It still looks better than it did, but that certainly looks pretty significant. It's just south of Silver Lake there.
Yeah. We'll put the. Are we waiting for another scan? You want me to put the debris ball
Sure,
signature
yeah,
back on?
see something.
Okay. Yeah. So let's see. I mean, what you can really tell here is you can see you see that bright green just to the east of Disco. That's right where we're seeing the strongest rotation, and what that could be is a sign of debris being lofted into the air. The signature was more intense about 10 minutes ago.
Yeah, so you can pull it back like 15 minutes and you can see.
Yeah,
to
so
compare it.
so
But
we'll kind of show you. We'll go back
just
in time
because you
here.
don't see debris doesn't mean there's not a tornado on the ground. Remember, there's a lot of farm fields down here, so it could just be sucking up sand if there is one up there, which isn't as noticeable as like trees and debris. But that, just north of Macy, between Macy and Akron, is nasty. That was certainly a tornado on the ground, no doubt, from a meteorology or a radar standpoint. And as it's pushed to the east, you'll notice, so basically there's Macy. Yeah, that tornado was right along the county line there. And then I don't want to say dissipated because it may not have yet, but the debris signature doesn't look quite as intense as it did earlier. But this storm certainly has the potential, and it's moving towards, again, North Manchester, just south of Silver Lake. This is State Road 13. There's Sydney. Again, so this is just south of Kosciuszko County in Wabash.
Yeah, that latest scan there, Matt, definitely it looks like it's trying to re-intensify. The bright green and red adjacent to each other. Classic tornado
so
signature.
that's 15. I think that's 114 if I remember right.
Yeah, so between 15 and 114 is really where we're looking at ground zero here.
South of Silver Lake, you want to be in your safe spot. I'll tell you what, Ed, I'll let you can hop on the wall. I'm going to check something behind the scenes here.
Okay.
But if you live in this area, please take this seriously. This is not a storm where we're not confident on something. I mean, there is no doubt there's a tornado with this just south of Silver Lake pushing to the east to our friends in North Manchester and also Sydney. You need to be in your safe spot. Ed, you can mention too, the northern part of this warning is where we're really concerned, and it may be just north of that red line.
Now, when you're looking at this, there is Kosciuszko County, Matt, that's Wabash County directly south of there. And right along the county line,
So
you may
here's
think,
the-
oh,
here's
I'm
the county line, by
yeah,
the way.
right there. You may think, oh, I'm okay, but remember, this is a strong tornado that's on the ground. As these storms strengthen, as tornadoes strengthen, they take more of a right hook.
Yep.
And that's exactly what we've seen over the past 15 minutes here. It's beginning to move into very southern portions of Kosciuszko County, so the Silver Lake area into southeastern portions of Kosciuszko County. Interior room, lowest floor of your home, away from windows. You need to exercise your safety plan right now. You need to put it into place because this is potentially a very serious situation. And the latest scan there
Looks a little better, but
Yeah.
you notice, so the storm's moving this way, but we think it'll travel more like this way, especially if it continues to strengthen over the next couple of minutes.
And that's what it's already done because this rotation was originally south of Fulton County. So if you take your line back like this, it's actually been moving like this. It's had a north component to its movement, and that's helping to explain why it's now potentially moving into southern Kosciuszko County. But you can see how clear that is. I mean, it's like a bullseye. You see that green right next to red, and that's where we're seeing all the radar indicated rotation. And Matt, we could take it back to the correlation coefficient to kind of show where that debris ball signature might be. And it'd be right there. Earlier we were detecting blue, and when you get that blue color, that is stuff other than precipitation being lofted into the air. So that's pretty much radar confirmation that we have a tornado on the ground. And you can clearly see, Matt, if you take it back again, you can actually see its right hook as it moves to the right as it continues to intensify. So it's moving more like that. So that's why that warning has been extended into southern portions of Kosciuszko County.
It is right there.
Yeah.
That's what we're watching. Just east of Akron, and I'm talking, I would say, 1.5 miles south of Silver Lake. Not far at all. Right across the Wabash County line, which if you live down that way, you know it's a mile, 2 miles at most,
Right.
south of 14.
And
that's where this tornado's at.
Yeah, and the other thing to consider is that even if the tornado isn't passing directly over you, when you have a really strong tornado, you can get real strong inflow winds away from the actual tornado, that can also do damage. So, and that would put you in southern portions of Kosciuszko County. So you can see south of Silver Lake, over towards the Sidney area, definitely need to be exercising the tornado safety plan. So Liberty Mills, Kinsey, South Whitley, Luther, Columbia City, around 9:14, Luther around 8:58, 8:52 in South Whitley. Again, that's for this tornado-warned storm as it continues to move east through Wabash and southern Kosciuszko County. Again, it looks like the worst of this is smack dab between Indiana 14 and Indiana 15. Matt, on the chat, were you getting any other confirmed reports? Or?
I have to look for you.
Okay.
Here.
Yeah, so we're
back
probably, I mean, we had confirmation of an observed tornado on the ground in addition to it being radar indicated. Now, further north, still some very heavy rain-producing thunderstorms across Kosciuszko County to much of eastern Marshall. And Matt, we can go north one more time. Into LaPorte County, southern Berrien County, St. Joe County. That's seen a lot of rain today. Flash flood warning continues until 9:30. That would actually be 10:30 Eastern time for that flash flood warning to continue. Might even be extended since we're getting an additional storm moving over the area. But the main concern continues to be that tornado-warned storm for Fulton, Kosciuszko, Miami, and Wabash, right now affecting mainly Kosciuszko and Wabash County as the circulation continues to move in that direction. Also, some more tornado warnings down towards Grant, Miami, and Wabash County, the southern end of Miami and Wabash.
Yeah.
Look at all that lightning that's blowing up with that storm. So these storms are moving into an atmosphere that hasn't been worked over. There hasn't been, in terms of, there's still a lot of energy available in the atmosphere for these storms to strengthen. But if we zoom out to the wide shot here, once all of this activity is generally east of you, the severe weather threat should diminish as we work through the evening.
Yeah, and honestly, severe weather threat is pretty much low for the rest of the area. We're watching these storms in our southern counties. Give this a half hour, and the severe weather threat's essentially going to be done. South of our area, down here towards Lafayette, Kokomo, and over towards Marion and Muncie, some nasty storms for them. But for us, it's just this one storm here. We will keep an eye on it. Tell you what, we'll get you back to programming here. If we see it spin back up through parts of Kosciuszko or Wabash counties, we will break back in. However, the severe weather threat across the rest of the area in Indiana and Michigan, our part of Indiana, north of 24 and in Michigan, continues to decline. So that's the good news. Anything else you want to add, Ed?
No, I think we're good. Remember that tornado warning continues for southern Kosciuszko County until 8:30 p.m. We're going to continue to monitor the situation as it unfolds this evening. Of course, updates on WSBT 22 News on Fox and WSBT 22 News at 11.